are the police reserves.
The one behind the sign.
Okay. See?
All right, can everybody come in and please be seated? We could begin the meeting. There's plenty of chairs up here in the front.
Yeah. I don't know. No, some of them are here for that beautification foundation, and then we were swearing in 4 police reserves. So I think that's a lot of them.
Okay. Anybody else need a seat? Please come on in. There's some seats up here. There's 2 seats in the front. All right, we can call the meeting of the River Edge Mayor and Council for December 17, 2012 to order. It is now a little after 8 p.m. Could we please rise and have a moment of silent prayer or reflection? And in doing so, could we please remember, and can our hearts and thoughts go out to the children and the teachers and their families who died in Newtown, Connecticut. Could our acting borough attorney, Mr. Mead, lead us in a salute to the flag?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call?
Councilwoman Murphy?
Here.
Councilman Ford?
Here.
Councilman Coppola?
Here.
Councilman McMillan?
Here.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Here.
Councilman Capaleo?
Here.
And Mayor Mastroianni.
Here. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council? Oh, you know what? I forgot to read the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. So I will do that right now. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and attend any meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with this law, the Mayor and Council of the Borough of River Edge have caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Borough Hall, and notices were sent to the Bergen Record and the Ridgewood News. The mission of this governing body is to provide essential services through the establishment and implementation of public policy, to safeguard our infrastructure, providing honest, courteous, and professional services, and establishing a sense of trust and accomplishment with our residents. We do this through research and prudent planning, which seeks to minimize risks while improving our municipal services. We are sensitive to the needs of our taxpayers, while realizing that this governing body cannot be all things to all people within the revenue constraints that are imposed by state mandates, economic conditions, and prevailing attitudes about taxation. And can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the Mayor and Council for the work session and the regular meeting of December 3rd, 2012?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay.
I abstain.
Okay, you were You were not
I was
present.
absent.
All right. The first order of proclamation of business is proclamation and awards of the beautification Foundation of River Edge, and to present the awards this evening will be Virginia Quarterweg.
Good evening, everybody, friends, mayor, and council. Thank you for allowing us to make these...
Do you mind if I come down there with you?
Oh, I want you to. Thank you so much for offering. We were going to ask you. We put it in our note, Mayor Sandy. I'm going to read about one sentence about each garden, and whosoever is here at the end, the Mayor Mascaratola will present your awards to you, and we'll get the others to the families immediately. We have two commercials tonight. This goes back to our Peekaboo Gardens.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you, sir. Beginning in 2001. And our commercials are important because Pincomac Road is our face, and it's what people see every day. And these are two tried and trues. Thomas J. Barrett, attorney, John 10 Pincomac. It's a lawyer's front yard. It's fair and balanced, fair to the four seasons, and balanced. Four plants on this side, we've got four on the other side. We've got six on this side, six on the other side. I passed there last evening. All of the mums have been taken away, and I'm sure the bulbs, the daffodils have been planted for the spring. And this is Thomas Barrett.
Okay.
And the other commercial is Bogart Funeral Home, Claire Bogart. And we know these people. These are our friends and neighbors. And they make our town beautiful. And to honor them is such a privilege. Thank you that we can do this. To just say thank you. Because it blesses all of us. The Bogart Funeral Home is pristine. It has, on raucous Pincomac Road, it has a sense of quietude about it. All the boxwoods are manicured perfectly. Her part is out of town. She did that. The Fialco, now we have the families. We have the Fialco Memory Garden. And this family, Robert and his wife, Evelyn, in 2001, came to us and told us they wanted to build a garden in memory of their beloved Jennifer, who was lost in 9/11. And this garden now has matured, and we would like to give them a plaque, family plaque, to remember that they planted this garden for Jennifer. They've been able to walk in it, to pray in it, to talk to her every day. There will be a garden in Newtown, Connecticut next year. There will be a community garden for everybody who passed away. We'll all remember this tonight because it all happened, and we'll remember we talked about it. And but Robert and Regina Redding, they live in a house that's so important to all of us in River Edge. It faces CVS. You come out of CVS, you can go straight, which passes their house. You can go left or right. It's a long light. The next time you go by there in the summertime, remember the Redding house, because they have planted hundreds of white daisies. Daisies smile at you. And it's a white picket fence. It goes all the way around the property. And in reflection, you might even remember it when I'm explaining it to you. They really deserve a plaque. They light up Pincomac Road. Pat Christian, she lives on 166 Woodland Ave. Woodland Avenue is kind of a treasure. It's kind of a hidden street. There's glorious trees, and it's a wonderful street to live on. It's quiet there. And this little lady, all by herself, she lives alone, and she works in this garden. And it's a color cacophony of a garden. It screams at you when you go by. Please look at me. It's so extraordinary. She's got every plant that God made in the springtime in there. And she truly deserves a plaque. Robert and Denise Don Diego. Robert Don Diego was our very first awardee because he truly is gardener in his heart and his soul, and his garden was incredible. And it's impeccable. You could eat off the floor, the garden floor. And that's what happened. He became a farmer. And now he has more, he grows more vegetables than he had plants. But he reversed himself. And now all of the plantings embrace his farm. And because of a couple of these gardens, Mayor, you can't see from the street. I'm going to ask you if we do a garden walking tour in June, and we'll visit these and maybe a few others. Will you join us?
That'd be great, and we could get our borough bus,
Wonderful.
and we could go to a spot, and we could walk to these gardens.
That's better than my idea.
That'd be a great thing.
That's wonderful. See, that's why we called it peekaboo gardens, because you had to look over their fence, okay? Now we call them drive-bys. Okay, thank you, sir. And then we have, so Robert is really a farmer now, and anything you do in community farming, anything at all, remember the one guy you all need. It is Robert San Diego. And then we have a lady, Mary Ann Inciti. This is a sleeper, and you really you need your van, okay? She's at 360 Webb. She's all the way at the end of Webb. So if you don't go there, you never see her house, because she's like a cul-de-sac, and it's a dead end. And my friend Marilyn on Summit told me about this wonderful garden one day. It was early. It was about 7:30 in the morning on the weekend. She said, Virginia, will you go with me and let me show you this garden? I said, I would love it. So we went over there. I said, gosh, this is an enchanted forest. It's unbelievable. And she has created it all by herself. And it's difficult to describe in one sentence. So I'm going to put her at the top of our list for our drive. Okay? Thank you.
And you have,
I have that.
this is for Mr. Barrett?
Yes, sir. I'll get it.
Okay.
Who's here tonight? Can you raise your
Mr.
hand?
Barrett is here. You want to give him the flag?
I will.
Yeah. Come on up.
Are the Reddings here?
Hey, ready.
Are Robert and Georgina Redding here?
Yeah.
Oh, bless you. You do that. No, you get them out and
What do we have?
We have Fialcos, Robert and Evelyn.
Robert and Evelyn Fialco.
Oh, my goodness, yeah, I didn't see it. Oh, that's nice. Thank you. Mary Ann Inciti. Mary Ann, are you here?
Congratulations.
Thank you. Robert and Denise San Diego.
Robert and Denise San Diego?
Robert.
With Robert. Come on up, Robert.
Thank you. And Pat Christian. Didn't make it. 166 Woodland. We'll get this to her. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful, wonderful holiday.
Mandy, can we take a picture with you and all the gardeners?
Oh, that's a lovely thought. And with me.
Well, before you do that, we have something for the mayor and council for Virginia. All right? We have something for you, Virginia. This plaque says, presented to Virginia Quarterway with sincere appreciation for many years of voluntary dedication and diligence to the beautification of the borough of River Edge by the mayor and council, December 17, 2012. Virginia, this is for you. So let's get a picture of all the award winners.
Okay.
One picture. You got your flag? Stand over here. Go ahead, Virginia. You have to stand right in front here. Okay, there we go. Thank you.
My name?
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
You look like you're kind of like...
I was trying to get out of the picture.
Not a good look.
But don't use that one. I was trying not to be.
Okay.
Alrighty.
On appointments and personnel changes, can I have a motion to amend the probationary period of 1 year to 2 years as per contract for the following patrol officers: Renata Sanchez, Anthony Roman, and Vincent Ariano?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. A resolution to approve the resignation of John Pompoloni, sewer operator, effective December 1, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And a resolution for the appointment of Brian Koyman, Justin Kearns, Walter Rios, Ben Silver, and May Cotto as police reserves, effective December 18, 2012.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, do we have any of these? Is Brian Koyman here? Okay, can you stand and come forward? Walter Rios? Walter Rios here? Is Justin Kearns here? Come on up. Ben Silver? Come on up. May Cotto? Okay, great. Can you hand this to one of you guys? All right. You can all put your left hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. You know what? Put the Bible here. There we go. Now you could all put your hand on the Bible, raise your right hand. And after I say your name, after I say I, you are going to state your name. Okay? I
Justin Ryan Clinton,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
that I will bear true faith
and will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the government
and to the government
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people.
And I
And I, Brian Clinton,
do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will faithfully,
and will faithfully,
impartially,
impartially,
and justly perform
and justly perform
all of the duties
all the duties
of the Office of Police Reserve
of the Office of Police Reserve
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Thank you. Nay. Brian. Justin. Sinus. Joe.
Put your hat over here.
It's full.
There he is again.
There he is.
There he is again.
Full is.
Quantum leap.
Okay, I'd like to just state for the record that earlier in our 7 o'clock work session, we had a personnel matter on involving Sergeant Cheevers. It was on for a closed session, but Sergeant Cheevers elected to waive his rights notice, and we had the hearing in public, just so that the record is clear. Can I have a motion to approve the resignation of Vito Aquafredo from the Planning Board effective December 31st, 2012?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Congratulations, Vito. All right, we have various letters and notices and correspondence that is delineated in the agenda, that is available for the public to review, that is on file with Denise Don Diego, our Borough Clerk. In addition to that, we have monthly reports from the Building Department, the Tax Collector, the Police Department, and regarding the cash flow of the library. We have liaison reports this evening. We have liaison reports beginning with Councilman Murphy for the Shade Tree Commission, the library, the Senior Citizen Co-Liaison, Technology Committee, Special Events Committee, and New Milford River Edge Shared Services Committee. Councilwoman?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to thank the Shade Tree for planting over 100 trees, replacement trees, and our holiday tree, getting that planted in time. They will also be meeting to discuss removing some trees surrounding tennis courts that have been depositing pine cones, so they would like to discuss taking down some and replacing those trees. Today I was at the SCORE holiday party. We have some people in the audience that were there as well. They had a luncheon and a sing-along, and they had Santa and Mrs. Claus and Frosty the Snowman in attendance. And there was about 60 people. It was a good turnout, and everyone had a great time. And that's about it.
Okay. Councilman Courts, DPW, beautification, New Milford River Edge Shared Services, Oradell River Edge Shared Services.
I don't have any actual reports on these departments. I just do want to say thank you for allowing me to be the liaison to the DPW Beautification Committee and the Shared Services over the past 2 years. I wish I could have spent more time on the Beautification Committee, but I think I had 1 year on that. But the liaisonship to the DPW, I had a good relationship with John Lynch, and it was definitely well worth the time and time spent. I'm hoping that the Shared Service Committee do carry on with Oradell and the Milford. Actually, I know they will. And whoever has that in the next term, good luck. It's going to be a lot of fun. Because, you know, our towns could work together very nicely. There's always some good people to work with over there. And we can just have some good conversation between them. And I think River Edge could be the leader. We could be the leadership as far as these towns working together. I think the quality of council people we have up there today far passes the other towns. I'm not saying that just because we're here, because I just think I've dealt with a lot of these people, and I just think that moving forward, I think River Edge is very lucky. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Council President. Councilman Capola, Historic Commission, Traffic and Safety Committee.
I do not have any reports.
All right, thank you. Councilman Mignon, Police Department, Environmental Protection Commission, Green Team, and the Planning Board.
Just with respect to the Green Team, we've updated the last two items we believe we needed for recertification. That was the fleet inventory and the Sustainable Land Use Pledge that we approved at the last meeting. The Sustainable Jersey program has extended the deadline to the end of January for towns based on the storm, but as of now I believe we have all information submitted. Hopefully we'll hear about being recertified early in January, but we do have couple extra weeks in January in case they need some supplemental information to validate our previous admission. So I think we're pretty close to getting recertified. Planning Board, this Thursday, we are going to be discussing the Historic Commission's recommendation for designating those two properties for historical status. I don't remember the addresses, do you remember? One was on Spring Valley, and the other one was on Kinderkamak. And that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Bartoloni, Recreation Commission, River Edge, Riverdale Schools, Special Events, and Senior Citizen Co-Liaison.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Commission is working right now on its budget and its capital requests for 2013. Of course, I think I mentioned this at the last meeting, but they did a fantastic job with the tree lighting in conjunction with the Fire Department, Shade Tree Commission, DPW, all the department, and the Police Department for blocking off the roads, and that was a great event for the borough and anyone who attended. It was a really good time. In terms of special events, our meeting last month was canceled due to weather. The night of the meeting, there was some precipitation and some icing, so that meeting was canceled.
Councilman Papaleo, Fire Prevention, Construction Code Official, Property Maintenance, and River Edge Alliance Against Alcohol and Drugs.
Thank you, Mayor. I only have two reports. The River Edge Alliance Against Drugs has ended the year using almost all the funds given to us in the grant. There are many organizations that benefited from our alliance, including the River Edge and Riverdale Public Schools, parent organizations of the public school, the River Edge Public Library, and the senior population of River Edge. As the new year approaches, there are some organizations that have already requested funds, and as our chairperson, along with the counselors of the schools, parents, and the library staff, will be funding new ways to encourage our citizens to be drug-free. Many thanks to all who have been a part in this endeavor. Also, I'd like to extend my thanks to the Fire Department for their service to Santa as they ferried him around the town and brought continued Christmas cheer to our children. That's all I have to offer tonight.
Okay, thank you. I am the unofficial liaison to the River Edge Volunteer Ambulance Squad. Unfortunately, I must apologize because Joe Zemedis gave me a report for December, but I must have left it in my office. I cannot give the December ambulance report. I will say that the volunteer ambulance serves a valuable purpose to the residents of River Edge. They log many miles every month responding to calls, bringing patients to Holy Name Hospital, Englewood Hospital, Hackensack University Medical Center, and if anybody is interested in serving as a member of the Volunteer Ambulance Corps, they should certainly reach out and submit an application. Also, would like to recognize the County of Bergen had an event on Thursday, December 17th in Mahwah for outstanding service during the Superstorm hurricane. I'm not going to say the name of the hurricane because I don't like the sound of it, but I will say that our DPW Superintendent, John Lynch, was awarded a certificate for outstanding service. Tom Lynch, who's president of the audience, Tom, stand up, was awarded a certificate. He's our Office of Emergency...
Smith.
Tom, what did I say? Tom Lynch. Tom Smith. Office of Emergency Management, and Councilwoman Murphy for all of her hard work at the Fire Department. Thank you, Councilman. And that's my report, and I'm sticking with it. We don't have any ordinances on for first reading. We have an ordinance on for second reading. This is an ordinance amending Chapter 416 zoning, Article 4, District Regulations, 8, Conditional Uses, Planned Residential Development of the Revised General Ordinance of the Borough of River Edge. This is an ordinance that allows duplex housing on a section of Park Avenue, the east side of Park Avenue. And the ordinance was originally drafted by an application from a developer. It came to the mayor and council. I'm just giving the background. It came to the mayor and council. We heard the application. We asked our borough attorney to draft a proposed ordinance that would allow the construction of duplex homes on the east side of Park Avenue. After getting the draft ordinance, we then adopted it on first reading. I don't remember exactly what the vote was, but I think it was more or less unanimous. I could be mistaken. We then sent the ordinance to the planning board, because the planning board is empowered to make recommendations, suggest modifications, to see if the zoning change is consistent with the borough's master plan. There was a hearing at the planning board which lasted almost 2 hours, where modifications to the ordinance were made. The planning board attorney, Mr. Neese, sitting to my left, wrote a letter on behalf of the planning board to the mayor and council suggesting what changes should be made. Our borough attorney then amended or made modifications to the proposed ordinance, adopting and including the changes, and we're here today for the public hearing and to hear the public, and then for a vote on the final adoption. So can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public on ordinance number 1772?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right. First, does any council member wish to address the proposed ordinance? Ed? No? Okay. All right. Anybody in the public wishes to ask a question, make a comment, or a statement regarding the proposed ordinance? All right, I see some hands up.
Yeah, why is it...
Wait, let's do this. Let's stand. Give us your name and address.
Jose Salad at 841 Park Avenue.
Okay.
I don't see how this isn't just a variance being granted to a particular developer for its benefit. If you're going to propose a zoning resolution, which I think is just piecemeal and doesn't benefit all the residents of Park Avenue, what are the perceived benefits to this zoning change? Was there any study into the impact that it will have to the surrounding communities, to the surrounding area in terms of traffic, increased consumption of services by dwellings that are going to be occupied by more than one family? How is it going to alter the characteristic of the surrounding area? Why is it limited in scope just to the eastern portion? If you're going to have a zoning change, why not benefit the western side as well? To me, if it's a zoning resolution change, it's because there's some perceived benefit to the change, then that perceived benefit should inure to everybody on Park Avenue, not just to the sole developer. And I think it's inappropriate that a zoning change be done on a piecemeal basis at the behest of a developer who's just in there to go in, buy as many old homes as he can, raise them down, build duplexes, and at the end of the day, it's for his benefit or its benefit if it's a corporation. And then the residents of Park Avenue, we're the ones who are going to get saddled with increased traffic. Whatever perceived economic benefit there is in terms of increased taxes, I think will greatly be offset by increased services to the increased families that are going to be living on Park Avenue, by increased, I would assume, and I think reasonably, that there's going to be additional families with more children using the school system. So, I mean, I just don't get it. And if you're going to do a zoning change, do it for the benefit of everybody. I have a big lot. I have a lot that's about 92 to 127. Why can't I benefit from the proposed change? And it's going to drastically change the makeup of the town. It's charming. Yeah, it's old, but it's charming. You know, don't you think that there's been enough development? I mean, I go around, I've been here 3 years. I go around, I see the McMansions, old homes that were here for many, many years, raised down to build McMansions. It's my understanding that that was changed and that's not allowed anymore. Well, Why do we, on the southern end of Kendall Mac, why do we face the prospect of having a developer come, potentially buy all the land, and guess what? We're going to have duplexes from Lincoln Avenue all the way to Gates Avenue. For whose benefit? For a developer, not my benefit. And I don't know if anybody else here agrees.
Very well.
Raise your hand, I'll recognize you, you can stand, give us your name and address. Ma'am, you in your first row.
My name's Sheila DeVay, and I live in 817 Park Avenue. And I totally concur with what he's saying. And I would like to add my own bit to it. We were talking, Lady Virginia, I couldn't get her last name, she was talking about how beautiful this town is, the beautification of this town, and what a lovely place it is. I have lived on Park Avenue for 5 years, and the area that he's talking about, I'm a painter. It's been a source of inspiration and solace to me at all times. At all times. It means a tremendous amount to me. And if you talk about the beauty of this town, that is one of the most beautiful areas in town. And to tear it down just because, like he says, it's going to benefit a developer, and my kids run around and play in that area, to have traffic and all the other things that accompany such things, it's unthinkable. I mean, it breaks my heart. It really, really breaks my heart. It is such a I mean, I wish you guys would just go there in all seasons and walk down that Park Avenue and just look at it. It is so beautiful. You can see the trees, and then you can glimpse the river. I mean, what more do you want? And you want to tear it down. I mean, for what? I really, really don't understand why. It's not progress. People need to go and look at those areas and talk about quietude, talk about beauty, talk about... It's transformed you. I came from Brooklyn. To this area. And it inspired me to paint landscapes. I have never painted landscapes in my life. It is so beautiful. Please do not go ahead with it. Please do not. I mean, you'll regret it. I promise you.
I live down there, and I'm in favor of it, so
You're in favor
yes.
of the development. Why?
Because I think that 4 homes are not going to...
But you have to do
Sorry.
I get up every morning and I look at that view. Every morning I look at it. To get it, to have a building, and it's beautiful. Look at it in fall. Look at it in springtime. Look at it even now. I've painted those views. It's marvelous.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Second row.
Mike Craig, 879 Park Avenue. I have a couple of questions that I'd like to ask. It sounds like you're, mostly all of you, in favor of moving forward with this, and I guess I'd like to hear from the council and from the mayor what you perceive as the benefit in making this change, because people are making assumptions here about what we think this developer has asked for and why you guys think it's a good idea to move forward, and I'd like to hear that from you. And then after that, I would like to ask another question if I might.
Well, Mr. Craig, this is what we're going to do. The council is going, before the council votes, if any member of the council wants to put his opinion on the record as to why he's voting a certain way, he will make that statement. I don't get to vote unless there's a tie. So unless there's a tie and I have to vote, then I will put my opinion as to my vote on the record. Right now we're here so that you can speak. So if you have a comment to make about the proposal, then we're here to listen to you. So let us hear from the public. If any council wants to make a statement, they can certainly make a statement. But usually, council will put their reasons for voting for something on the record at the appropriate time.
It's kind of hard to respond and present an argument about something if I don't know why you're doing something, but if you guys aren't willing to put your opinions in front of us, it's okay. I guess my other question is, you were approached by a developer asking for this change. What was his reason for asking for the change? Is that something you can share with us?
Well, I don't really want to put... The gentleman who knows more about the proposal than anybody else would be our borough attorney, Sam Seresti, who is not here today. The second person who would know the reasons why the request for the zoning change was made would be Mr. Barrett, who's in the audience. I don't know if Mr. Barrett would like to speak on the proposal, but he's...
Mayor, perhaps when the public has concluded, I'd be happy to respond to questions as best I can.
Okay, that'd be a good idea.
That's appropriate.
All right.
All right, I mean, I guess I'd imagine that there had been a sharing of information here, but there's not. So I can make some assumptions, which unfortunately is not a good way for, I think, decisions to be made, but you're not giving us anything to work with here.
I can only tell you, Mr. Craig, that at a public meeting, nothing happened before closed doors, at a public meeting, Mr. Barrett and his client came forward, who are property owners in that area, and suggested a zoning change. We listened to all of the reasons, which you will hear when Mr. Barrett speaks, about the housing stock in that area, about the railroad tracks, about the geography of the area, sloping down towards the railroad tracks, and why would be consistent with the borough's master plan to have an overlay only on the east side of Park Avenue, where the railroad tracks are, to allow for an upgrading of the housing stock on the east side. And we heard that. We didn't think it was something worth exploring. We gave it to our borough attorney. He drafted the ordinance. It went to the planning board. We have a town planner who gave us an opinion. We have a town engineer who gave us an opinion. We discussed the various setbacks and parking requirements and everything in an open public meeting at the planning board, which you can get a copy of the tape or request a copy of the transcript. After the proposed zoning change was vetted with all the professionals, then recommendations were made by the planning board to send the matter back to the mayor and council with modifications. We discussed it again at a meeting. We adopted the modifications. We put it on for a first reading. Tonight it's on for the public hearing. That's basically the background.
Okay. All right. I'll make some comments based on what I assume. I assume this developer knew the price he was paying for this property when he bought it. I assume he was aware of the zoning requirements for that property. I assume he had a reasonable understanding of construction costs. Right? So he bought the property with his eyes open. Nobody made him do it. He knew the zoning requirements, and he knew what it would cost to build. My assumption is he's asking for this change because in his opinion, he is not making the kind of margin on the development that he would like to. Okay? So this change is a request to increase the amount of money he can make on this development. And I think that's a reasonable assumption in light of the information available. There's an impact on the value of the houses in the area when you put higher density housing. So the residents of Park Avenue are going to be paying for increased profit for this developer, is what it essentially boils down to. I don't understand why this decision would be made to do that. Okay? He's a professional. Got a lawyer, buys properties, builds houses, knew what he was buying, knew where he was buying it, knew what the rules were. Okay? Decided after the fact he wasn't going to make enough money. Okay? I don't know why we have to subsidize that. With our property values, with the potential for services, particularly in schools, he's making a bet, not just with our money, but with the entire town's money, that there are going to be fewer people going into the school system that we have to provide services for than the additional tax revenue is going to drive. I don't know if that's true or not. But if the decision here is that duplex or multifamily housing is a good idea on one side of Park Avenue, my question is, why isn't it a good idea for the whole town? Okay? I don't understand the logic that it could be good in one little strip, but not be good for all the borough. There's a reason we have single-family dwelling in this town. Okay? And we all know what the reasons are. But for some reason, in our little piece of River Edge, we're not going to get the benefit of that. We're going to carry the burden, so that this guy can drive his margin up a little bit higher. I don't think that's your role in this town, and I really hope you really rethink what you've done.
Thank you. Yes, sir, you have third row.
Good evening. Victor Vitale, 42 Washington Avenue. I probably have put the most amount of money in the house in the last several years adjacent to the property. I concur with everybody. I've invested in a single-family home. I've made it look like a single-family residence in a traditional way. It sits in adjacent to the properties, across the street, down the street, around the street, and yes, according to the tax guys, on Fifth Avenue. One of the few people that have done that and lost my money to get taxed more. My point, I didn't look at the bottom line when I invested in River Edge. I invested in the community and my hard money, for no profit. Because I knew when I invested in my house, I lost money. I chose to stay here. And quite a bit of a Christmas gift on you for this tax season. I don't accept economics in our neighborhood. It's cost me a lot of money to stay in this town. And it's cost me a lot of money to stay in next year and the year after. And nobody's giving me a consideration. I find it very hard to believe that you're going to do this. I'm upset. And Mayor, I have tried to call you several times without a return phone call.
You called where?
I left messages at your office many times. Now, I think economics drives the whole engine. You thinking that it's a tax structure or whatever, God bless, we need money. Well, maybe we should start thinking in other directions. Or treat us all equally. I can't afford taxes. I need a four-family. Let's do it that way. I can't afford to sell my house. Let's make a 10-family. Where does it stop? Where does it stop? I'm getting charged for a wraparound porch. I need money. I don't see a wraparound porch down there. I see a split. Okay, now it's economically feasible to sell a house because the taxes are less on a split property. That's not what I bought into. That's not what I invested. Guys, we have to stop somewhere. Streamline the town services, whatever it is. You can't sell down the town, or make it equal for everybody. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Charlie Keene, 855 Park Avenue, 71-year resident. And I agree with every one of these residents here. That's for the birds. And while I'm up, the garbage collection guys are the worst in the world. They leave the crap in the street. They don't come back and pick it up. And everything. I see tomatoes and female things. It's a shame. Absolutely a shame. They go like they're raped apes running through the town. I'm telling you, I'm sick of it. 71 years in this town. I had my own horse on the other end. No more. I'm with them. 100%.
Thank you, Mr. Keene. Yes, sir.
I'm James Miller, 885 Park Avenue. Can't believe it, but I've been in this town 18 years. I was also on the zoning board for 4 years with Vito over there. Still on the environmental commission, so I volunteer in town. I just find it's hard to follow people, my neighbors said it so well, that we moved to this town because we like the neighborhood, and now you want to change it. And it's crazy that people on the west side, which happens to be where I live, and I put a lot of money into my house, and my house is not worth what I owe on it. And it's very disheartening. And I'm going to stay, and I pay a lot of money every month to live in my house. And the idea that my neighbor across the street has a dilapidated house, which I've been looking at for 18 years, is just go and cash out and make like $400,000 or $500,000 and walk away because she's got a large lot. I mean, this developer basically says, I have Plan A. He says, I have one undersized lot, and I have two houses on the two lots. He says, I buy the lot for $250. He says, I knock it down, I make it all nice and level, build a retaining wall, and then he says, oh, I just realized I can't make money on this property. He says, oh, let me go and convince the town, Mr. Soresti, to say, hey, let's go change the zoning on the whole block. And by the way, one of my friends just buys the house right next door, which just happened, so that'll be the next duplex that'll go up. And it's going to be like bing, bing, boom, and they make a lot of money. We sit there and we got to keep looking at it, and our tax bill keeps going up. And it's a negative when you put in a duplex. There's no positive. If you have one kid in each one of those duplexes, that's 4 kids in that new property that I don't even know if it's approved yet. So that was another question I was going to have. Is this an additional to just do the whole street, or is this basically just this guy's property? Is that approved already, or is this all part of the same ordinance?
I can answer that. I can answer that. Well, Sam can answer that, but it's my understanding that this is for the whole side of Park Avenue.
Right, so is this guy's double duplex already approved, that he's already got it approved?
No, he doesn't have any approvals
Okay,
for it.
and I also find it interesting that we had 3 days' notice, and we've had crappy weather for 3 days, and you guys are going to ram this vote down, and I know at least another 20, 30 people that are not here tonight because they got 3 days' notice. After you don't get your mail on Wednesday, you go to the post office on Thursday. It's technically you had 2 days' notice plus the weekend, and already you're voting on it. We never got notice to that planning board to say you guys were thinking about doing the change. It would have been nice to send a letter. You didn't have to send it even certified mail. You could have just put it in the paper even saying, hey, by the way, we're thinking about rezoning. What's your opinion? Instead, we got to tell you in like a matter of an hour to affect our lives and our economics. And again, I've been in town 18 years. And I thought I was going to retire with a nest egg, but it's not going to happen. And it really bothers me that if it wasn't for the good school system here, I would have been out of here a long time ago. And I think that people that live here like Park Avenue because it's quiet. The best thing ever happened to Park Avenue was when before the last chief decided to retire, he made it only left-hand turn. Do you know people were driving 60 miles an hour down Park Avenue? Until he did that, now I'm not saying everybody doesn't break the law, but there's limited traffic. At night, my friends from the city live on Mulberry, sitting in my yard, we got our chiminea out. He goes, Jim, this is so quiet down here. I said, that's why I live here, it's quiet. You're going to put 5 houses across the street from me, all their kids going in the school system. It costs $20,000 to educate each kid. You only go and charge $14,000 for the taxes. That's a $6,000 loss. Who's going to make it up just to pay for the school, let alone the fire, the police, the ambulance corps, this building, the $250,000 generator you're putting outside? I mean, it's got to stop. It's great that you want to make those houses nice. I think just from regular gentrification, those houses eventually are going to be replaced, one by one. But it's going to be a gradual replacement. The idea you're going to make a big swat with a paintbrush. Oh yeah, we're just going to draw a line, like the way they did redlining in Brooklyn, where they said you're on this side, your house is where we won't even give you a loan. You're basically redlining our whole neighborhood and saying we're going to put up make this developer all this money. And again, we got to look at it and live with it, and I think that's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. This gentleman we haven't heard from yet.
My name is Carl Hartman. My family lives at 821 Park Avenue, and this development would happen right across the street from us. And there's really not too much I can add to what my neighbors have to say. I completely concur with them. The denser housing area was supposed to happen around Huffman Coos, and there's an opportunity right there, for more dense housing, and it's just a big dark parking lot. But you want to take the other side of my street and develop it all along the street, and I have a real problem with that. I agree that if it's to increase ratables, then what will happen is it'll be zero-sum. That when those families move in, they'll need services, and there will not be the money to cover that, and we'll be in the same situation that we were. I like the view that I have from my house. I can look across the river, I can see trees, and it would be nice if it could stay that way. When it was first proposed that there would be houses there, I thought that would be okay too. I could live with a single-family house across the street from me in the former property of the Newells. I could live with that older house being fixed up, but finding out and just having a few days' notice, I mean, my neighbor here did not even receive a notice. She found out through me. So I don't think that it was an effective job was done to let us know, and there would certainly be many more people here with an opinion had there been a more effective way to let us know. I moved from Queens, which is, it was a nice area of Queens, but I moved out here not only for the school system, but because it was a beautiful town, and it was quiet. And I think that when you start to do this kind of thing, you cannot back up, and it will start to look more like Queens, a lot more like Queens, the area that I invested in and moved away from. And I've been here 10 years, 11 years.
Thank you, Mr. Ortman. Let me see if anybody else who has not spoken yet wants to speak. Yes, sir.
My name is Mike Ron. I live at 880 Park Avenue, and I've been there for 28 years. Charlie has me beat. But I have a lot that's, I'm on the east side, I have a lot that's 125 foot wide. And I would never want to see a duplex put there. I don't want to live next to a duplex. I don't know how many people on the council would like to live next to the duplex. Living there so long, I know every couple of years we come here to fight something. Park Avenue has always been different than the rest of the town. A couple of years ago, it was a garbage depot that wanted to be built behind our houses to wash garbage trucks. A couple of years before that, it was a cell phone tower that was going to be put up behind our house, 6-, 7-story cell phone tower that was going to be put up. Every couple of years, Park Avenue has always been different than every other block in this town. And I don't want to see a duplex. I don't want to live next to a duplex. And I've been there 28 years, and I plan on staying. I hope everybody, I'm not a rocket scientist, but it's hard to believe that this wasn't a tailor-made deal for this developer. And if it's good for the east side of that street, how about the rest of the town? I don't think I don't know, we're not going to take a poll how many people on the board would like to live next to a duplex or across from a duplex. I'll just leave it there. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Yes, sir.
Barry Simon, 812 Park. My neighbors have all said things very eloquently. And I agree with them fully. We're here to benefit a builder who made a business decision. Turned out to be a bad business decision, and now we're looking to back him up. And all you're going to do is benefit his pocket. The rest of us are going to have to live with extra people on the street, cars in the street, because you can't park cars for the duplexes in a little driveway they propose, so they're going to be out in the street. There's going to be more impediments to going up and down. We already have, thanks to the traffic sign, at least a little bit of a break from people doing 60 miles an hour at 3 in the morning. There's too many things there that make it negative for the residents amongst the views, amongst the different properties. There's too many negatives that affect us that will not affect the rest of town if you just impose it on us.
Thank you, Mr. Simon. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. What's the address?
87 Old Park Avenue, Riverridge. I want to know why the DPW is working in the landfill at 6:30 in the morning, waking up all the residents from Park Avenue.
6:30. They don't even start.
They start at 6:30.
They start at 7:30.
6:30 in the morning.
They start at 7:30.
Right in back of my house.
I called the police the other day, and they said, oh, they're allowed to go out and scatter. That was on Saturday.
Saturday?
They were working before 7. And then when you call the police, they go, oh, they're allowed to do that at 7 o'clock. I was under the impression, since I've lived here 18 years, that 8 o'clock is the starting time on the weekends, and 7:30 is the starting time during the week, unless there's an emergency.
All right, we'll look into that.
Mayor,
Yeah.
they may have been on an overtime basis clearing debris from the storm. They're still working on stump removal and some of the debris. So it may have been to catch up on the debris from the storm.
All right. Anybody else? All right, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To respond to the second to last comment about the parking, that was one of the recommendations that was made by the planning board to the mayor and council, was to increase the width of the driveways. The original ordinance proposed a 16-foot width. The planning board recommended that it be 18 feet, and the ordinance before you tonight requires 18-foot or permits 18-foot driveways. Those could easily accommodate 2 cars plus the ones that would be in the garage. I think that what really drove the application to this board back in September, which was when we first appeared, is the shift in the assessed values within the property, as you're all aware. The emphasis has gone from the land values to improvements. In order to build a marketable home, a single-family home, it would be one that would be taxed with the land at approximately $20,000 a year. Unfortunately, such a home is not marketable pretty much anywhere within the borough, but particularly in that location because of the fact that it does border the railroad tracks. We've seen an increase in the number of trains that travel each day for the commuters. In addition, as we just heard from Mrs. Sheehy, it also borders the not the recycling center, but the mulch center and the leaf disposal, etc., and the parking lot, the commuter parking lot. This proposal would provide a buffer, and I believe that we have to keep in mind when we talk about duplex, we're not talking about a 2-family home. We are talking about 2 single-family residences that are attached, so that we are preserving the single-family home. It's simply that they are attached to each other. Also, some folks seem to be under the misconception that the side yards would be diminished. In fact, this ordinance provides for greater side yards for the duplex, in that it would require a 10-foot side yard on each side, whereas for a single-family home, you're only required a total of 18 feet, 10.5 on one side and 7.5 on the other. The prospect of the entire street being improved is unlikely with the duplexes. This will provide, though, an engine for improvements to that side of the street. There are more than a couple houses that are in need of repair. We also have, according to the borough's own planner in his report that he submitted to the planning board, there is a 2-family home, there is also a 6-family home and an 8-family home along Park Avenue. So what's being introduced is not a new concept. Those homes have been there for many years. I believe that the safeguards that have been built into the ordinance, the requirement that the driveways for the duplexes be separated by a 3-foot planting strip, the requirement that the front yard setback be what it is for all homes in the single-family district, 30 feet, which in fact is greater than many of the existing homes. The problem, another one of the problems there is the slope from Park Avenue down to the railroad tracks. We heard one of the neighbors state that the developer my client came in and built a retaining wall. That's true. That was a requirement of his subdivision approval. Quite frankly, in order to have enough space, enough property to construct any improvements, you needed to fill in, and in order to hold the fill, rightly so, the borough engineer required retaining walls so that the ground would be stable, not as we saw in some prior developments along Kindercamack Road. The applicant planner indicated that the adoption of the ordinance would result the density of 11.6 units per acre, whereas on most of the lots in the zone, the current density is 8.7 units per acre. The multifamily homes have densities of 42 and 47 units per acre respectively. The conditions which must be met in order, if this ordinance is adopted, the conditions which must be met are very strict. And if they can't be met, the applicant any applicant cannot get an approval. You have to have a 70-foot frontage. You need to have at least 100-foot in depth. But even if you had a 70 by 100-foot lot, it's not adequate. The ordinance says you have to have 7,500 square feet. As I stated before, you have to have a minimum of 10-foot side yard, a minimum of a 20-foot rear yard. The height limitations are exactly the same as they would be for a single-family house. 2.5 stories, 30 feet high. And that includes the garage, which is counted as 1 story. The planner's report, Mr. Oshaub's report, which was submitted when we first appeared before the Mayor and Council, noted that the proposed ordinance would result in homes that would appear similar in size to new single-family dwellings, but would result in more tax dollars to the borough by virtue of the fact that they are typically assessed at a higher value than a two-family home. The duplex would be assessed higher than a two-family home because there are separate owners and each unit can be sold separately and would be. The two-family home is assessed at a lower value because one of the units is typically a rental unit and it lacks some of the amenities that a owner-occupied unit would have. The railroad forms as I stated, forms the rear boundary line of these properties. It causes some difficulty in trying to market a new home. As we know, people get used to anything, but the attraction of a railroad in the backyard is not a great attraction. The location itself is an attraction by virtue of the fact that people can walk to the train if they are commuters. The fact of the matter is, with respect to taxes, that based upon conversations with the assessor, each of these units would be assessed at about $400,000 and pay taxes of approximately $14,000 for a total of $28,000 per duplex. Whereas I stated before, a single-family house would generate taxes of about $20,000. I believe that in order to have a marketable, viable development, the adoption of this ordinance would enable any interested property owner to redevelop their property, to develop their property. There are at least one other vacant lot down there at the current time. And I think that it would generally be an improvement to the community. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, members of the council.
Thank you, Mr. Barrett.
Mr. Mayor, you want to answer some questions?
Right.
Yeah?
Go ahead, stand up and give us your name again for the record.
Yeah, Michael Craig, 879 Park Avenue.
Okay.
First thing I want to ask is, when were these properties purchased on the offer?
3 years ago? 2 years ago?
2 years ago? Okay, so the shift in value from land improvements, the increase in the train traffic, the commuter parking, they were all there when the property was purchased, correct?
No, the shift took place actually last year, is my recollection, with the assessments for 2011.
That's correct. I can answer a couple questions there.
This is Mr. Calico, who is the property owner.
Maybe Mr. Calico could stand and give us his name and address.
Joseph Paleka, from Riverdale, New Jersey, 561 Victory Place.
All right, thank you, Mr. Calico.
When you bought the properties, you understood the zoning requirements?
Yeah, I can give a couple brief overview of what happened to me.
Yeah, Mr. Calico, let me just ask you, have you built other housing here in town?
Yes, I've been working in River Edge for about 10 years, renovating homes, 224 Madison Avenue, 800 Fifth Avenue, 678 Fifth Avenue, 674 Fifth Avenue, These are not McMansions. These are modest, single-family homes, priced correctly so that people in this neighborhood, can afford and appreciate them. And that's basically it. I'm not out looking to make a killing. I do a couple of houses a year or renovation. It's not my game. I have 2 young kids at home. I'm looking to make a living just like everybody else. I bought the properties down on Park Avenue. I had the property was previously 2 lots. Mrs. Seitz put the 2 properties together so she could afford the taxes better. So she turned 2 lots into 1. So we had to go through the whole subdivision process to turn the 2 pre-existing lots back into 2 pre-existing lots, because it's a one-way street. Once you put them together, you got to go through the subdivision to take them back apart. So we did that. I have plans, approved permits for single-family homes. Complete, done, paid for. $30,000-$40,000 invested in it, not including that retaining wall to build it, and the drainage and everything else had to do there. Just to build 2 nice single-family homes. I walk into the tax assessor's office, okay, here are these 2 beautiful single-family homes that I want to build and sell. Well, $20,000, minimum $20,000. I'm like, okay, I have 2 houses, I'll never sell. I'm looking to get $650 for these things. $20,000 in taxes. Who's going to buy it? Who's going to move into a new house backing the railroad tracks for $650 with a $20,000 minimum tax ticket? So I was like, okay, I need to, rethink this. What else is going on here that I could do? So I'm like, there's 2-family houses here. Maybe we could do duplexes. 2 families are no good because they're not individually owned. They're not things that people own, take pride in, care for, buy into the neighborhood where all of you live. The duplexes are, owned by people who want River Edge, want to have a child in the River Edge school, want to be a part of this community. That's what they're about. 2-family houses is me as a builder building a house and renting it out. That's not my intent. My intent is to just, at this stage of the game, build something that's affordable, sellable. It's not all about the buck. For now, it's just about getting the job done, making them beautiful, and, moving on with my life. That's basically it. And we've set forward ordinances, we've hired property planners. This stuff has all been carefully thought through, down to drainage, parking, height, size, setbacks, yard, coverages. Everything's been all laid out very carefully. These houses will take up not an inch more than a single-family house would in the area. And so the thing is, to build a single-family house there, which I have approval to do right now, I can stick a shovel in the ground tomorrow, will not sell. I'll be forced to build something so cheap that it's just to get out of there. Just to get out of there, and I don't want to do that. I'm willing to build a quality, a nice, beautiful stone on the front, gorgeous duplex that each person can own, as I mentioned, and basically that's what happened. That's what happens. The rules were changed on me in the middle of the game. I had the plans, I had everything. My master plan was not to come in here and get a subdivision, come down here and ask for duplexes. You guys all know that. I have plans. I have sealed, signed plans from the borough, paid for. I'm forfeiting all of that just so that I can salvage what I have. And I'm very sorry that you guys don't approve of it, but that's what happened to me. And that's it.
Ma'am? Could I ask a question?
Sure.
Give us your name and address again.
Carl Hartman, 821 Park Avenue. Seems like the crux of the problem here is that the taxes on that property, why are they $20,000 for a single-family home when there's no, if you go to Zillow and you look at the property taxes of everybody else around there, it's nowhere near that. Why does the town require that the taxes be $20,000 on a single-family house? What is that all about? Where do you get that number?
tell you more.
The number comes from the tax assessor who reviews the site plan, looks at the square footage, looks at the dimensions, looks at the fact that it's a new housing, so there's no depreciation applied, which is applied to the other housing stock in town, and assesses it at what's called the highest and best use, and that's where you get the $20,000 from, and that's the same problem that we had generally when the reassessment was done with residents who have newer homes or remodeled homes or new homes. They all received a staggering increase in their reassessment. I have a newer home. My home was built about 6 years ago, and my taxes went up 40% in their reassessment. They're over $20,000. So other people other residents in town who had older homes, original homes, who didn't put additions on them, saved a couple of bucks off the reassessment. Maybe their taxes went down $300 or $400 or $500, but that's the way the reassessment worked. So this particular developer, this property owner here, had all good intentions of building a single-family home. He's trying to salvage his investment. He's spent a lot of money before with professionals to figure out something that would fit the character of the neighborhood. But everybody has legitimate concerns that it may not fit the character of the neighborhood, and that's why you're here. That's why you bothered from your busy lives to come here. But I hope that the explanation that Mr. Colicchio gave you will at least satisfy some of the questions that you had. And Mr. Colicchio, as he spoke of, has built other things, has done business in the borough before, and is not in, I don't know him personally, but it doesn't appear to me like as he's an irresponsible developer or just wants to put up McMansions all over the place or anything like that. He wants to put in something that fits with the neighborhood and is trying to accommodate all of the requirements both from the borough and from our professionals.
I do not challenge his experience. I sympathize with his plight and the situation that he's in right now. I think the crux of the problem is then how we assess the property. And if there's going to be a change, then there's certainly, however the assessment is constructed right now, is certainly not going to encourage people to fix up their place, or if they have an older house like I do. I did not know this was in place, and it certainly doesn't give me the inspiration to make any nice changes in my home, thinking that my taxes might go up to $20,000. That would crush me, and probably most of the people in this town. And that's the problem right there.
I can only tell you that when the reassessment figures came in, we had this room filled with realtors and real estate agents telling us that they would have a hard time selling any new house in town because of what the reassessment did to rehabilitated or renovated or new properties.
But you want people to fix their places up.
You do. The problem is that when we're in the middle of this recession that we're in, and we're trying to spur people to improve their properties, to make them more valuable, so that we don't have a town full of foreclosures and short sales. We want to have a housing stock that shows pride of ownership, so that people move to the town. And you can't spur that type of development if you have lots of vacant lots or foreclosed properties. So we have to come up with ways in order to keep the wheels of progress going, so that we can keep the real estate market from leaving River Edge.
What happened to Huffman Coons, you know, and all of that development?
That's for another night. That's for another night.
And now that's putting all the pressure on poor guys, you know, like this. And then on us.
You don't have your hand up anymore.
Jose
I'm gonna-
Bowden again.
Go ahead.
Although I agree with you, you know, we should spur housing development. We want our homes to sell. But you know what? This is a case simply of the council being addressed by this developer and saying, you know what? Woe is me. I knew the previous owner, and I had a lot of discussions with her when he was buying. He gave her a very hard time to sell. I remember all the conditions she talked about. He wants the oil tank removed, he wants this, he wants that. He got that house for peanuts. You know what? He made an informed decision. It's not up to this council.
Those things aren't true. I don't know where you got the information
Caveat emptor, okay? He bought it for very cheap, the little house that was there. He bought it with the specific intent to demolish that house and develop what, it was initially 2 single-family homes. Now he's admitted, caveat emptor. I'm not going to make a profit out of this, or I'm not going to make the profit that I wanted to make. Well, you know what? Too bad. That's not my problem. That's not my neighbor's problem. Frank, who's been there 50 years. That's not my other neighbor's problems. That's not Carl's problems. I'm not here to benefit him. Well, guess what? I moved from Queens with my little ones, okay? I didn't want to live in a dense area in Queens by Shea Stadium. I lived in Fort Lee, which was a dense area. I moved here 3 years ago, and my neighbors, 841 Park Avenue, which was an old home, 1890 built. It was a forest. You couldn't even see the house. I put more than $60,000 in the 3 years that I've been here into that home. $20,000+ in a retaining wall, in steps, in landscaping, not to mention what I've done to the interior, not to mention what I still have to do. Okay? I pay my taxes. I moved here because I want to live in a single-family residential area. And for the council to even contemplate what essentially is, no matter what you want to call it, is it's not a zoning change. It's a variance. It's a variance for the sole benefit of him. If you're going to do that, you're going to have to do it for me. I'm underwater. My house is not, I may have $600 based on what I purchased. And did I come to the council and say, oh, you know what? My house is underwater. I don't have any equity. Can you please give me a variance so I can build a duplex? And I have the space. How is that our problem? How? You're going to drastically change. This is specifically for the benefit of one person. We've heard the evidence. We've heard the facts. And why weren't these facts proposed when there was a meeting for the before the Planning Commission? I didn't receive a notice. Who received a notice here? For the benefit of one person, because he doesn't like, and I don't have anything personal against him, but he doesn't like the fact that if he builds 2 families, he's not going to make a return. That's not what zoning is about. That is not what zoning is about. And if Mr. Barrett, I mean, train, it's nonsense. I barely hear the train. It's not you have very few trains that run. It's not a full-time, it's not a full-time commuter. You have maybe 3 or 4 in the morning and 3 or 4 in the evening, okay? The houses there do sell, okay? And at the end of the day, zoning should not be about economics that benefit one person. And the town, at the end of the day, with multi-family homes, because no matter what Mr. Barrett says, no matter what terminology he uses, at the end of the day, I can say it's a single family divided into 2. That's just a different way of saying it's multi-family. I mean, let's not play cutesy with the facts. There's going to be more families using the school system. There's going to be more families using the services. And who's going to make that up? Everybody in this room and everybody else in town. And I sincerely hope that the council would not even, personally, I just think this is, you've made up your mind. I think this is just, well, it's like the MTA. We're already gonna, we know what we're gonna increase your fare price, but we're gonna hear you out. And you know, as a voter, I'll look into who voted yes on this. And next time around, guess what? If you didn't hear me out, I'm not gonna hear you out when you come up for re-election. And that's the bottom line. So this is to me, but it's an illicit variance for the benefit of one individual, to the detriment of many, many others on Park Avenue.
All right, thank you. I think the gentleman in the third row had his hand up first.
Victor Vitale, 42 Washington again. Council, before I invested in my house in Washington Avenue, let me share something with you. I tried to sell my house. The house was in, before I put the addition on, extremely good shape. So I take pride, was a contractor at one time. Couldn't sell it. The guy offered me $225. I bought a house for $160 and put $100,000 into it. The economic factors to move my mother-in-law in from across town because I'm a two-bedroom, one bath. She was paying $11,000 going to $13,000. Taxes. I expected to pay a little bit more this time when I invested. I didn't do enough research though because I didn't know we were going to hit with almost another point before I put the addition on. Because you hadn't made up your minds yet. Remember, we kept postponing final assessments. We didn't know what we were doing as a town. Everybody in our town, we got decreased, and the people that invested in our properties paid a penalty. Like I said, I got a $6,000 Christmas gift. You got to make a little decent money, and I didn't have to take away from my daughter's wedding to pay the taxes 2 weeks before Christmas. Thank you. My point is this. I did a little research. Anything below kindergarten is 20 to 25% less than the actual market. You don't take that into consideration. You do your evaluations, you base it on everything. We have a train. We have a dump. Not just on that road. It's adjacent to everybody in the 250 yards around. I smell it every morning. We get a little whiff of, you know, the leaves that are fermenting down in. Okay? That's all natural. All right? But it's quiet. In the meantime, and I'm speaking strictly for myself, I decided to invest. I didn't know I was getting the surprise I got when the taxes finally came out, and we'll talk about that next year. That was my problem. I chose to invest in my house, and I paid the price. And I'm paying the price. And I will continue to pay the price because of the needs of this community. We're in economics. We know we need money, guys, but it shouldn't be out of our pockets every year. I'm here 20 years. I bought the house down in 42 Washington. I paid $1,590 taxes. I'm going to pay $15,100. That's 20 years. What is it going to be in 10 more years? That's the scary part. The scary part is we don't know. And that's a crime, because you can't keep taking. People are working, I'm fortunate, my wife stayed home. I'm tired of working 6 and 7 days a week. And you know what? I don't have a union to benefit me. I got to put the 16 hours a day in or get fired. So where are we going? You guys talk about a master plan. Well, you know what? 20 years ago, I moved to this town because I saw little pink houses. Remember the little fuzz guys running around, 4th of July don't come anymore? I moved here for little pink houses. Think that we grew up. What are we going to do in 5 or 10 years? That's the big question. You want people to come to the town and stay, We gotta come up with different answers other than taking out of their pockets. And my kids can stay here, my kids cannot stay here. This gentleman, $20,000 in taxes. In 4 more years, I'll be at $20,000 for a 100-year-old foundation. Yeah, I made a nice house, but it's still a 50 by 110 lot. And I had to fight for the coverage and give up certain things. The question is, where are we going next year? That's the big question. Nobody's willing to invest now. You got a double whammy. Yeah, you got your voters, you gave them the decrease in values, and in the same breath, you increased it by a point. Thanks. You did good.
Mayor, can I mention something, please? Can we just stay on the conversation right now, because we're talking about tax increases compared to construction.
That's what's driving this.
I understand that, but we're having 2 different conversations.
It's the same conversation.
But Mr. Vitale, we're
all
talking...
economics.
We're talking about this particular ordinance. That's what we're talking about.
It's all economics.
We're talking about one ordinance right now. That's what we're talking about.
And I'm going to give everybody who's already everybody who's had their hand... Oh, Ms. Walker back there hasn't been recognized yet.
My name is Wendy Walker. I live at 369 Windsor Road. I lived on Park Avenue. My mother lives on Park Avenue. I'm the executor of that home. That neighborhood, I moved into this town, into that neighborhood. I took the train. There was a reason why I bought into there. And I sat on the zoning board. I sat up there at this table. I'm not really sure this whole discussion, this gentleman should be in the zoning board and doing a change of use variance. I mean, that's really what it was. It's for him. To take and say from the house past my mother's all the way to Gates Avenue can now be duplexes, I'm not really sure. I don't want that choice. And no one asked me my opinion if I wanted that choice, and nobody else here really was asked that either. But somebody that was from out of town, that bought property, that was going to make 2 houses, came up and asked you that. I'm not really sure why it's even sitting here in front of you, and why it just didn't become a change of use and go to the zoning board. Is there, could you say why that didn't go like that, or?
The reason is it's not a permitted use. You can't really, the application would have no merit as a use variance for that zone. It's its own one family. So what he did is he brought to the board the attention of that property and maybe other properties at the time. So the choice was to examine that area to see if those 22 lots could be conditionally treated and therefore developed without going to a zoning board. You wouldn't go to a zoning board with this application because it's not doesn't have sufficient legal merit to go to the zoning board. You cannot prevail, in my opinion, on that application.
So I guess the next question is then you've rezoned it, and I know it's not flat zoning because you've done a chunk, but it's still, without having a hearing and opening it up to the people that live in that neighborhood, I'm not sure how, as a planning board and a governing body, you have this discussion without including the people in this area.
Well, I think that's why we're here tonight. I mean, this is part of that discussion. I mean, this matter has been before the mayor and council and the planning board over the last 2 or 3 months, so it's not something that just came up at the last minute.
And I'm sure, Sam, and I do not follow like I would have in the past. I don't look at your agendas, and I guess I didn't, and it wasn't on my radar, so I didn't know this was happening. So I just really feel that it's something that if you were serious, and I know you are serious about it, I have a different perspective, I think, when you're saying it fits within the master plan. It doesn't, because you would never really put a duplex, if you were putting a duplex on Windsor Road, I would be freaked. This is not what I would want in my neighborhood, but we're taking one section to do it, and I'm really not sure that I see how, you know, you say that this is part of the master plan, it fits within the master plan. I don't see how it does, because we're single-family homes. There are non-conforming homes down there. There's the sixth apartment building. There's 2 and 3 family houses down there, but it was never, you know, it's an R1 district. That's what it is. So you're changing the character of the neighborhood with this ordinance.
I want to follow
Wait,
up.
wait. No, but I haven't recognized anybody. And Virginia hasn't been recognized yet. I'm first going to call on people who have not yet been recognized. You've had plenty of opportunities to speak. Yes, Virginia.
Thank you. This is the first time I've heard about this tonight. I came for a really happy reason. As someone who loves River Edge, and I can say that loudly, I can shout it. I've been here 47 years.
Good girl.
Our taxes were about $6,000 on the old 20-room house that didn't have a window in it. And Buddy restored the place over my lifetime and his. Taxes now on the two properties are $83,000. Taxes. Now, I'd like, Mayor, to make one sobering reminder before you people vote tonight. And why vote tonight? Nobody really knows about this. This is going to affect the whole, not this neighborhood, it becomes contagious. A major premise that makes River Edge saleable is River Edge is a bucolic, single-family home community with a good school system. If you vote yes, you will bastardize this wonderful, sacrosanct Park Avenue, one small section of this town.
Can I just follow up, quick question? What is the legal ramifications on what the proper notice is?
Name and address, please.
Miller, James B., 885 Park Avenue. I'll rephrase my question because I lost my thought on that one. Basically, we had 2 days' notice to come here and get to speak for an hour. We appreciate you letting us speak. But we didn't get notice that this was going before the zoning board, before the first reading of the ordinance. We never were able to question the traffic planner. We never were able to hire our own independent counsel that could refute what the developer is saying. We never had our day in court, and not that this is a court system, but the idea that you already made up your mind, and then by chance you mail out 60 of these mailers on Wednesday, which some people didn't even get, and then you go and say, oh, well, we listened to you because you already made up your mind. I think that's wrong. And what's the issue? We're at the end of the year. Why don't we wait till the next meeting, and can we call back some of these people that actually that testified? We never got to cross-examine them. And so we're still fact-finding, and the idea that you go and just vote for this and change our whole entire neighborhood, and I like the guy, he seems like a great guy, but for his benefit and give us like the short end of the stick is just plain wrong. You would give people more time if there was going to be a variance where they would go and put a pool in their backyard, because I was on the zoning board 4 times. We gave notice. People knew that was going to happen. They got to interview the planner and interview the traffic person. We never got the opportunity. It's just crazy that you would push this through and not give the people, and there's many more people that live in our neighborhood. This is only like 10%. You're going to have a major problem. People will be very mad that you're not giving us the correct time to vote, to give us our opinion. Don't worry, I'm an attorney, and I'm going to look into it.
I'll let
that. Proper notice was given because you make valid points.
We're trying to run a meeting here, sir. I'll have Mr. Sereski, our borough attorney, address the notice issue. Because
the notice issues, this is not a trial, it's not a hearing in the sense that you would have before a planning board or a zoning board, where you produce witnesses and you have the right as the public to not only cross-examine those witnesses, but also to speak in opposition to an application if that was the position of the property owner. This process is followed by statute. It does require a notice at the end stage of the process. All of these notices have been published. The notice was published in the paper. It has to be published at least 10 days prior to the hearing, so it did appear in the record. In addition, the notices have to be mailed at least 10 days prior to the hearing date. and that was also accomplished in this particular instance. So there is compliance. Does it give you the same amount of, let's say, due process that you would characterize in a hearing before a planning board and zoning board? Probably not, because you don't have the ability to cross-examine any expert witnesses. There were no real expert witnesses produced in this particular case, and the matter in processing an ordinance which affects a zoning change follows a process where the mayor and council reviews it. It reviewed a report. I'm not sure if there was a report submitted by I think Mr. Osha, but he submitted a report, but I don't think he ever appeared on it, if my recollection is correct. It was reviewed. It was, I think, the opinion of the mayor and council and the governing body that given the nature of this development and the fact that it would affect the 22 houses that border the railroad track, that it would be an enhancement to the neighborhood. That was the opinion of the council. Having said that, they felt it would also probably stimulate development of other homes on that area that border the railroad track, those 22 homes that run from Gates south down to River Edge Road. With that in mind, the council then referred it to the planning board for another level of review. The planning board reviewed it with their planners, so that all of this is public material. It's published. Maybe we should take a great interest in the community so we could pick up on these things so that you don't come to the 11th hour and then plead ignorance. But all of these things were thoroughly reviewed by the planning board and by their planner, and certain recommendations were made to enhance or improve the proposal that was set forth in the ordinance. Only after that point was the matter then subject to two readings under the ordinance, which is also statutory, and it goes through two readings, all of which is public information. After the first reading, then we send notices out. They have to be sent 10 days prior to the hearing date. It doesn't have to be received 10 days. It just has to be mailed 10 days before the hearing date. So the fact you may not have received it 10 days prior to the hearing does not invalidate the notice. Obviously, I don't think the council was aware of the interest of the public, but then maybe the public was a little bit lax in not staying abreast of some of these meetings that were conducted over the last 3 or 4 months. But nevertheless, it's important to stay abreast. You have to know what's going on in the community. Had the notice was given so that the public could, if they didn't want to respond to the public meetings that we had over the last 2 or 3 months, they would have this one last opportunity to be heard. So that the notice went out for that last opportunity for the public to be heard before the adoption of the ordinance. All of this was done very legally and very correctly, not with the view of slipping one by the public, but to give the public an opportunity to be heard. Believe it or not, there are people that don't necessarily agree with your thinking in terms of whether the duplex would in any way ruin the neighborhood. Some people believe that it actually would enhance the neighborhood. So there is a dichotomy of opinion. It's important to air those. That's part of the democratic system. It doesn't mean that one section is right and one section is wrong, but I think you could find a number of people that would believe that the duplex located in that area along that section of Park Avenue was not a detrimental plan, or a plan that would be detrimental to the community. It's another mindset or thought. The bottom line is, I mean, the opportunity you have today, it's up to the mayor and council to decide whether they want to bring it to a vote today or not. I mean, it's their decision. They can make a decision if they want to table it or want to vote on it today. I think it's up to this governing body to make that decision. But certainly, I have to say this: you're not going to find a more harder working group of people that sit here. These people work. And I am finished on December 30th after about 32 years working with the borough. But these are very hard-working people. They take everything into consideration. I don't think they've actually realized that a number of you felt the way you do feel, and I think it's important that you air your feelings out. They have to hear that. It's unfortunate that no one really reaches this point except when they get a notice in the mail. You can't always do that. You got to stay abreast of these things. Of public notices that are done. We publish our agenda and so forth. So it's kind of important to stay on top of these things so that you can get more feedback maybe at an earlier date. But I have to say this on behalf of this governing body. They are extremely hardworking. Anyone who feels otherwise should attend these meetings and maybe come to these meetings, and not just because it affects Park Avenue. but they take into consideration all these issues before they move an application or a process in this particular direction. So I think in fairness to this body, they are very diligent, and it's not that they're trying to railroad anybody with reference to a particular project. I do believe a lot of people think that this is a very feasible plan for that section of Park Avenue and will not affect the property values. There is an opinion, affect property values in that area.
Yes, sir.
Respond, Mike Craig, 879 Park Avenue. Some notes that someone who couldn't attend tonight because of the very short notice. I'm trying to research what information was available to us people who weren't paying attention. March 1st, there was mention of the planning board making changes to zoning rules on March 1st. It's on Borough website, but there are no specifics about what that was, and since it was a work session, there were no minutes posted. So not a lot of information available to us. Planning board held several executive sessions through the spring and summer, which may have included this topic. The references made public are not definitive. Okay? This is a very specific rule being considered. But through the course of the year, no mention of Block 213, Park Avenue, or duplexes appear in any of the titles of the agenda.
The planning board didn't get this until September.
July
Or
19th.
October. Was it? October.
It may have, but that's my point. You stood here and said, you know what, you people need to pay more attention to what we're doing. There's everybody in this neighborhood, okay, no one knew anything about this. Okay? Now you can make that our fault. You can try to say that's our fault. But when you're making a decision about what's going to affect an entire neighborhood, and nobody in the neighborhood knows about it, I think there's a little bit of, kind of putting the onus where it shouldn't be. Okay? If we don't know about it, and we're the ones affected by it, and you're the ones considering and making the decision, don't you think there's some affirmative obligation that you have?
I think the statute, I agree with you. The statute does make that provision. That's why you received this notice. I think this is from my experience over the years, this is a pretty good turnout on a particular matter that obviously has generated a lot of interest in the neighborhood.
But it's late in the game. I think
but it's at the end stage because no one has heard anything.
If I could address this point.
If it was affecting the neighborhood, wouldn't you want more than 3 days notice on something this big?
Just respectfully, sir, and to your point that you made before, the agenda for all our meetings are posted on the borough website. Everything we say is recorded, okay? It's a video. You can go onto the link, find out what's going on. You can see a total video recording of all our meetings, right? So it's available online for people who want to take an interest in it. The planning board agenda is also posted. Again, yes, it takes some effort on the part of the citizenship to educate themselves. I think one gentleman actually read from the article that was in the news about this proposed development. So it was in the media. It was in the town news. I think it was on the Patch. It was out there. The information was out there if you wanted to know about it. Like, we really do bend over backwards to make sure that people are made aware of what's going on in town. Unfortunately, we sit up here, 3 Mondays out of the month, and there's usually 4 people in attendance at our meetings. And they're the same 4 people over and over again. We love them. They're our regulars, but they're the only ones who are here. Because people honestly just don't take an interest in what's going on until it personally affects them. Everyone has an obligation to inform themselves about what's going on in town. People honestly just don't do it. But everything, what was going on here, the introduction of this, the discussion later on, was all available on the town website. You can go on YouTube. They're there. There's links on our website that you can see an entire video of all these meetings. So to say that you couldn't find anything, I just have to take issue on that one point because it's a little disingenuous.
Someone said from researching the website in the last day or two. My point is, you want attendance at these meetings? Get the information out to us earlier so we can have a real discussion, not the 11th hour. Okay? I got a letter last week, so you know who I am. You know how to find me. You were considering a major change that's going to impact my neighborhood, the property value that I hold, and again, which is a very specific obligation to address an economic issue of a single developer. Okay? Again, I'm not sure that's the point of zoning change, but that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about making a zoning change to affect an economic issue for a single developer. Now, I made investments 5 years ago, and you know what? The game changed. I lost money. They changed the tax rules. Changed tax rules on him. I can't come to the town and make the rest of the borough residents pick up the freight for me. I don't understand why I'm being asked to do that for him. This is what's happened here. But my point is, if you're making this kind of change, and you're making a decision that, you know, you gave an oath to the Reserve Police earlier today.
Correct.
And one of the lines in that oath, they talked about the authority of this government being given by the people. Okay? Here's the form for the people. You just heard us. Okay?
If I can address one more point that was made. I don't think anyone up here would make a decision based upon the economics of one individual. That's not how we were guided, and I have to take a little offense at that suggestion. When you're presented with a plan, you look at whether or not it benefits the community as a whole. Would it benefit Park Avenue? Would it benefit River Edge? Is that appropriate housing in that area? Whether or not it benefits that one developer or not is irrelevant to me. You have to look at, does it benefit the community as a whole? It was my opinion in looking at the plan and looking at the designs. I don't know if you've even seen the designs that are suggested for this. All right. They looked very attractive homes. They look like attractive homes, and there is already existing multifamily housing on that side of the street. But you can't deny that it's there. But you can't deny it's there. You want to pretend that it's single-family homes that exist along that entire strip, and that's simply not accurate.
May I ask you a question?
Wait a minute, wait. I didn't recognize you, sir. I recognize this woman who hasn't spoken yet in the front row.
Hi, Liz Davis, 291 Monroe Avenue. I've lived here pretty much all my life. I'm a realtor. I'm very sensitive to the things that go in River Edge. What's built there, the trauma of the town. My mother lives here. I chose to raise my family here. Not one mention has been made that this developer, he's actually investing in River Edge. He chose River Edge. He likes it. And it's as though he's been put on trial. I mean, he's trying to make a living, yes. What he's proposing is beautiful. And I happen to, I'm surprised that there's this run out. I happen to think that it will enhance the area. I think they're beautiful homes if you want to look at them. They're, you know, I mean, there are differences of opinion, and I'm glad that you're here, but he's doing a good thing. He's developing that area. What was there prior to that?
All right, does anyone else wish to speak that hasn't been heard yet? So we heard you for. There's a council rule that one member of the public is allowed like 5 minutes. You've had like 15 minutes on the floor already.
It's an important issue, and it's a response to one of those comments.
I'll get back to you. Does anyone else have a comment that hasn't been heard?
This lady. Mrs. Sheehy.
Mrs. DeBay?
Maybe she is from the Park Avenue River Edge. I live on the east side of that Park Avenue. I lived there for 50 years. The bottom line is, I do not want a variance of a two-family house. That's the bottom line. If the developer made a mistake and invested it in money in the wrong way, we're not going to pay for it. He doesn't live in our town, so why should we worry about it? Bottom line.
Thank you. Mr. Bay.
Sheila Bay, 17 Park Avenue. Mr. Mayor and members of the council, you've heard all of us, and we've been voicing our opinions and emotions strongly. And I wish you all to consider our feelings behind this before you make the decision. We're sorry that we didn't know, and we weren't participating, and we weren't aware, but now we are, and it's awful to feel helpless. So please consider that. We feel helpless. I'm sorry we didn't know. If we had known, we would all have attended because it means a lot to all of us. So thank you, and I do know that you make sound judgments. Just take opinions into consideration before you do that.
Thank you. All right, gentleman in the back.
Mr. Keene, 855 Park Avenue, Charlie Keene. This is a little off what we were talking about, but it's pertaining to River Edge.
Wait a minute, if you have to speak about, I'm only going to recognize you if you talk about this particular ordinance. I don't want to hear about the garbage.
You don't want to hear about
I don't want to hear about the garbage. I'll give you time later on to talk about the garbage.
How about the guy that's got crap in his yard and he's not paying his taxes and 45 Gates Avenue?
It's not related. It's not related to this ordinance.
And reported that to the desk. Nobody did anything. There's a gallon of liquid sitting there for how many years? You don't care. So the hell with it, I won't care.
Not the proper time. You can address that in our general session. All right, sir, you had one more final question.
Yes.
And then I'm going to close the meeting to the public.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Jose Saladin again, and this is in connection with Mr. Councilman Battalion's comment that he thinks...
Councilman Battalion?
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
It's late, so I'm having a hard time seeing. But I believe, and I'm paraphrasing, you can say you take offense that this was at the behest of the sole developer in terms of developing Park Avenue. My question to the mayor and the council is, before this developer bought this property, had the council ever discussed and implemented a plan to change the zoning so that that area could be developed? Prior to this development?
Yeah, I can actually answer that. I'll make one point, and it's not an analogous situation, but a previous council did this exact same thing. There was a zoning change affecting the east side of Kinderkamak, south of Howland Avenue, with the same type of topography, the same type of reasons, single-family zone. The previous council rezoned it for multifamily uses. So there was the thought of how do you improve, because we had the same arguments there. There was an approval for eight-house subdivision. The developer came in, asked to look for multifamily housing, and the previous council amended the zoning to permit that. It was a very analogous situation. So when we looked at this area, it was the same kind of model. We didn't want to see 30, 40 units like we're going to get that south end of town, but there was the planning stage, or the planning approach was already explored when we looked at those properties. And I was on the planning board at that time. So there was precedent. This didn't come out of the blue where it was, he initiated it particularly with this particular one property, but the concept was out there, and it had been a concept that was considered by the council before Mr. Click ever even approached the council.
But Kinderkamak is not Park Avenue.
Well, I'd make the argument that the conditions that Mr. Barrett stated affecting the Park Avenue were the same conditions raised by other people with regard to those properties over there, too. That's all I'm saying. I'm not making it directly analogous. I'm saying that there was a similar discussion, a similar thought process that was given in a very similar situation.
All right, can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, I want to thank everybody from the public for commenting. We've taken taken all the comments into consideration. If we can have a little quiet, I can call for a vote. We can see where we are. Can I have a motion for the final adoption of ordinance number 1772?
Perhaps some discussion amongst us first, Mayor?
Well, usually there's a motion and a second, then there's a discussion. That's the normal routine. A motion, a second, and then we discuss.
No, I think you could probably open it up, since it's been so broad. There may be more issues here that maybe others want to raise. I don't know. What do you think?
All right. We can open it up for discussion. Mr. Courts.
Hearing everybody tonight, I mean, I've been in town since, I was born here. Business started in '61 with my father, so I understand that area down there very well. Friends down there. I know that we got off a little track with the tax and stuff. So the town got hit with a tax assessment that has hit builders, has hit developers. So to think that nothing's going to happen with the bottom of the area of that town is kind of misleading to everybody, because any builder that comes in is not going to be able to touch any properties down there, whether you renovate or do something with the properties that are proposed to be sold. There's buildings down there that are just, trust me, I've worked in some of these things and they're just ready to come down. Given 10, 15, 20 years, they will come down just by themselves. But looking at tonight, it's very hard to make a vote on it, because I didn't hear your end. I'll be honest with you. I'm hearing your end now, and I'm like, okay, should we extend this vote out? Should we talk about it at another time? I'm not one to walk away from a fight or an argument with stuff. I'm ready to listen to everybody. You have very valid points. The builder did not come in here looking for special ideas and requests. He came in here as a investor in the town, and we looked at that. Not only to him, we looked at it with Bartoloni said, Councilman Bartoloni said, as everybody is going to be affected by this. So going forward, looking at this situation, we're faced with two situations. A tax increase which has hit everybody in town, and two is redevelopment. Redevelopment in any area in this town is going to happen, no matter if you like it or not. I just don't know if we need to open this up for more arguments. I'm kind of tossed right now. I was for it. Now I'm still for it, but I'm more to hearing other arguments, because I know if this ordinance passes, we're going to find our town, we're going to have a town that's going to be sued by the public, or something's going to happen to the town where this thing's going to be in litigation, and it's going to hurt development in town. It's also going to hurt the community itself as far as putting things together. So I don't know if the council needs to sit together tonight and say, should we postpone this, let the residents have more of a footing to discuss it, or do we go ahead and vote on it? I mean, that's where I'm finding myself right now. I'm just finding myself a little tossed, because first time I'm hearing the side of the argument, and as a builder, I understand about losing money or making money. So I'm not sitting here saying, we need to get this progress going. I don't want to see people lose money, but I also don't want to see people in their own value of homes thinking to lose money. I think you're getting two different arguments here. You're getting a tax, thinking your taxes are going up, but you're not understanding that we're adding back to the town to bring in better homes, better, just a cleaner street. So I'm kind of tossed right now. I'll be honest with you, Mayor. I just don't, I'm kind of up in the air.
I would be in favor of giving the people more time to get familiar with the project. I mean, many people haven't seen what it looks like, so tabling it.
Any discussion from this side? Ed?
Yeah, I don't want to sit up here and act like I know better than everybody else either. So that's not my position. And I understand the people in the public, they really haven't had much time to consider this as we have. We literally have been thinking about this for the better part of a year. And I think that between the proposal by Mr. Barrett and the planning board's changes, they've put in as many planning protections as you can actually expect. I think the bulk requirement to put in made it the same as a single-family house. The fact that it's a conditional use for the planning board means there's no rubber stamp approval. It always has to go back to the planning board for approval, where the public would have another opportunity to go in with experts and challenge what's being proposed too. So I think as far as the ordinance goes, I think Sam crafted a very thoughtful ordinance that takes into account the impact of the town in terms of not having huge bulky structures in terms of height or setbacks, and also by giving protection of going to the planning board, there's another level of review that's required on all these projects. It doesn't mean just because this overlay zone is implemented that everybody has an automatic approval to build a duplex. They'd have to go to the planning board to make the proofs concurrent with the ordinance. So, but I agree with Paul. I mean, we've had a lot more time to think about it, so to me that's why I'm more comfortable with it, but I'm of two minds too, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to answer the question, that I apologize, I don't recall your name, sir.
Jose Salado.
I used to live on Center Avenue, so I used to take my dog for a walk a lot down to Park Avenue. What's that? I always picked up, yes, always picked up. ShopRite bags are fantastic.
I got you on video.
But, so I've walked that area a number of times, and I have always thought and looked at that one area alongside the train tracks and thought that it was an area that needed some redevelopment. I think that this plan is a good plan. And I've looked at it, we've looked at it for a long time. And then you come to, we have a representative democracy. You have to listen to the people that you represent. And then sometimes you also have to exercise your own judgment when you think that perhaps the people you represent are of the wrong opinion. In this instance, I always love for people to come to our meetings, to be a part of the experience, to know what's going on in town, not just when it affects them directly. That's one of my constant, concerns and things that I strive for up here, is to try and encourage people. Please come, learn what's going on. We've tried to make it as user-friendly as we can by putting the camera in so you could watch the meetings, so you can understand what's going on in town, so that we're not operating in a vacuum. But for several months, that's exactly what we were doing, operating in a vacuum, because we heard from no one on Park Avenue. No one.
No one knew it.
Well, but again, the information is out there. All I would say to you is that sometimes democracy requires direct involvement by you, because you have to make that extra effort to educate yourself. That's simply how that works, and that's the only way democracy works, is the citizens educate themselves about what's going on. But we have heard from you this evening, and you're asking us for additional time to review the plans. And I know that it'll kill this for this year. If we do that, it'll have to be reintroduced next year. But I am of that mindset to allow you to have that additional time to look at the plans, meet with the, if you have to, meet with the builder and allow additional time to consider it, because ultimately I do think it's a good decision. I think it makes sense, but I don't want to impose it upon you. So, that's it.
Councilman Capola.
Yeah, just to kind of piggyback on Councilman Bartoloni, we're up here, we're with you. It's not, we're separate from you. We live in the same town. I live in the same town. We're here because we love this town. And by the way, I mean, we almost do it for free. I mean, technically they get stipends. I mean, it's something that we do. I'll call it volunteering. So it's not, us against you, and we're sitting up here just making $1 million. It's not. That's not it. So we're with you. We're in the same room, the same town. You heard the mayor. I mean, his taxes went up, so it's not us against you. And we enjoy and love this town so much that we put our names, reputations, and our butts on the line to run for office and be as involved as we can be. So we're on the same team. We might disagree, but it's not, again, us against you. So, thank you.
Councilman Papaleo.
I agree that we should postpone. And I think it's important that you understand what Councilman Bartoloni said, that if we postpone, it has to be reintroduced next year. So it has to go through a first reading and a second reading, and the process begins over. So this is not a small thing to postpone at this time in the year. One thing I think also that I'd like to mention is, one of the reasons I thought this was a good proposal is I've lived in a two-family home, a duplex, where it was one over the other, and that's a renting situation. And that's not good for the neighborhood. And I've lived in a two-family home which was really an attached home, two separately owned homes that shared a common wall. And that was not bad for the tax situation for the neighbors. In fact, it was a beautiful neighborhood, and people took pride in their homes. It was not a renter situation. The language of this ordinance, which I recommend to you to look at, and it's one of the things I want to hear from you when we go back to the first reading, because I think that you've made some powerful arguments, is part of the language says, use, any duplex residence proposed under this section shall contain not more than 2 dwellings units arranged side by side with a common wall, with no dwelling units being above or below each other, and each dwelling having a separate front and rear or side access to the outside. This is one of the things that, when we consider it, kind of started swaying me towards this was a good idea. We weren't setting up apartments. we weren't setting up a two-family home, which I don't want next to my house. Another thing that swayed me, I really would like to hear your position on this, is from our understanding, from the facts that I understand at this point, to build a quality home, given the tax situation, given the train, given the lot is now empty, is not a viable situation as I understand it. And so if we voted this down, it would appear to me that lot would remain empty. And that, to me, would be a blighted situation. So that was another thing that sold me that this was a good idea. It also sold me that it was a good idea that we took so much time. We literally took months looking at this, reviewing it, sending the planning board, coming back, having multiple drafts, having our lawyers, say, hey, maybe this, maybe not that. We were not being swayed by a builder. What happened was, in my opinion, what happened from my point of view was the builder came up and presented a solution to an area that seemed to me to have buildings that were not in great condition and lots that were empty, and suggested a viable solution that would be good for River Edge and for Park Avenue. Now, maybe that's not the case. Maybe we need to hear your arguments more. I definitely am doubtful. I didn't know by the time you were finished speaking whether I would vote yes or no. I think the better choice is yes, but I think the greater choice, the more noble choice, is for us to postpone and for us to hear your arguments after you've had time to look at the documentation and to think about it not as a two-family home, which it's not, but think of it as an attached home, something I've lived in a neighborhood that benefited from this. I think that's important. So I want to say to you right now, I don't know how I would have voted if it had gone to a vote, but I believe the council has a consensus now that we're going to table this and we're going to bring it back. And I think this is the way democracy works, and you should be proud of yourselves that you came out, because that's why it's not going to be, in my opinion, we haven't taken the vote yet, is not going to be voted yes at this time. But I think many of us, maybe all of us, feel this is a good plan, but we're open to hearing something else. So thank you for coming out.
All right, and before we, I think there's going to be a motion to a table. There'll be a second. There'll be a vote. But before we take the vote, I just want to say thank everybody for coming out. As the members of council that have spoken, I think everybody's here because the notice that you got may have been in the sense that it was insufficient, that somebody was pulling the wool over your eyes, that we were only giving you a moment's advance notice of something that was going to drastically affect the character of the neighborhood. I assure you, and I think it all comes from a general distrust of politicians. I think that you don't trust us, even though many of you voted for us, and I can understand that. But I have to say that up here on this council, there is a lot of talent. We have an attorney, we have an engineer, we have an architect, we have a contractor, we have an entrepreneur, we have Councilwoman Murphy, who has her who has her ear to everything that goes on in town, and keeps us, she has her finger on the pulse of River Edge. So nothing really gets past us. We are competent people. We only do things that we think, as a whole, are within the best interests of the community as a whole. We looked at this particular area of town. We're in a situation, again, where I said we're in a recession. We have empty lots. We don't have empty lots that are increasing our ratables. We would like to put residential properties on these empty lots that are going to both generate some tax income. At the same time, they're going to fit within the character of the neighborhood. The proposal that we have is not for not for an apartment house, not for a group home, not for anything that would be out of character with the neighborhood. As was mentioned before, these are two single-family structures that have a common wall. The plans that were shown briefly some time ago and the type of building materials that were used were, absolutely beautiful. I suggest that everybody take a look at the plans. Everybody knows now that this issue again, this ordinance will be on for a first reading and then a final adoption in January. And at that time, you can come again and give us your comments, and we'll take all your comments. I think you're going to find that many of your worst fears have been allayed by simply looking at the plans and seeing that this may, in fact, increase the value of your own property. It was designed and vetted by the planning board to get more cars off the street so that we don't have any, parking problem down there. It was designed with all of the setbacks in mind so that it's consistent with the other single-family homes that are there. And I think the majority council at one time appeared to support this because we thought it was going to make the community, it was going to improve the community. So that's where our mindsets were before we heard you tonight. Anyway, can I have a motion for the motion?
Mayor, can we move to table?
Yeah. And a second?
Second.
Let's have a roll call to table.
Councilman Murphy?
Yes.
Councilman Ford?
Yes.
Councilman Trepolo?
Yes.
Councilman McMillan?
Yes.
Councilman Bartoloni?
Yes.
And Councilman Papalato?
Yes.
All right, motion's tabled.
Can you just know what the process is from now forward in terms of...
The process is that if you're a member of the public and you want more information, I think that the plans for this particular for this particular structure are on file.
Okay.
And you can look at the entire, you can look at all of the plans.
Is that online?
Not online, but where can you get them?
Down Secretary.
Guys?
The building department.
To this so that you know what we can, what the process is, if you want to get more feeling of what he proposes to...
The Office of the Planning and Zoning Board is Secretary, Anthony Theophilus. She's there from 10 to 1 every day. Downstairs, the main floor, right in the middle. Please come in, okay?
So the planning board, right?
Just to follow up, you said that the rereading of the, we have now till the 1st up to January, or is there going to be another meeting?
No, not the 1st of January.
Probably the 7th?
22nd, I think, for you, Mayor.
Next public meeting would be the 22nd, I believe.
The 22nd of January, probably.
Would be the first reading, the rereading. That's what it said.
There are 15?
Reintroduction, the first introduction.
We have to introduce it, then we have to publish it in the paper for a second public hearing like we have tonight.
So that would, beginning of that process would start on the 22nd of January?
No, I have to look online. Give me,
We have to find out from the borough clerk when our meetings in January are going to be.
That's all.
Mr. Salad, can you spell your name?
But they should be here on the 6th.
Access to the submittals that were made to the planning.
They're all in the building department. Everything is in the building department.
All that, all the back and forth.
You can get all of that. You can see a copy of the planner's report from both the applicant and from our attorney, from our town planner. You can see all of that.
I just want to thank everybody for your time and for tabling and really hearing us out. And perhaps here, we look at the plans and who knows. But I certainly appreciate the fact that, you have families, you're here till 10:30, and you really heard us out. And you put this on the shelf because of our input, and I certainly appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I wish he would.
Yeah, I know, really. It's just...
Mayor, thank you for allowing me to be your assistant or acting borough attorney tonight. This has been a very interesting... I'd like to go home. I wish you all very happy holidays.
That just means they don't...
No, he said, I'm going to look him up. I live there.
Right, you like it.
Yeah.
And I like the plans too, particularly projects you like.
Because I go down there, there are dilapidated houses, it's a big muddy lot right now. The home's over there.
All right, let's come back to order. Resolutions by consent. We have resolutions 12-422 up to and including 12-437. Then we have the payment of bills.
So moved.
Second. Is there any particular resolution that any member of the council wants to call out for separate discussion before adoption? No.
Yeah.
Al.
Where was he? Why don't I see it? I apologize. Yeah, 12-437.
12-437.
And, where's Pilecki? What's it? The last one? 1240? 440.
All right, do you have a question or a comment, or only you want a separate vote?
I just wanted, I have a comment on them.
Okay.
In terms of the one, 440, yeah, I have some concerns with that in terms that I'm just not convinced about the cost of the project, and then hiring him and entering into a contract with it. I have some serious concerns that, you know, maybe I really want to get a second opinion on that project before hiring him.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Alan will clarify the resolution.
On December 17th, I received an invoice from the architect for $2,250 for a budget estimate on June 2012. We visited the DPW building, took dimensions, photographs, observed field conditions. September of this year, he met with the roofing manufacturers, researched appropriate roof systems. He prepared a roof analysis report and construction budget estimates. October 15th, he met with the mayor and council to review his findings and present the roof report. 15 hours of consultation at $150 per hour. This was a confirming order.
You gotta leave the door open.
Yeah, leave the door open.
No, you have to open.
Just
This
push
was
it
a
open.
confirming order, one that I did not expect. We did not have agreement in place with him. You can certainly reject, you know, this invoice for the work that was
Didn't we
performed.
not authorize him by a proposal to do this work initially?
We requested a proposal from him, and he did provide a proposal on the DPW roof.
And on the
We never-
library
I don't
roof,
believe we ever
it was
awarded...
$20,000.
Excuse me?
I thought he had asked for $20,000 for the assessment and design way back when, and we approved a proposal.
I don't believe we ever awarded a contract.
Not a design, I think just a review.
On the library, he's under contract.
Yes, the library, yes. Oh, he
But what
the library,
happened at a meeting, if you remember, this was my recollection, is that
I thought it was for both
some
projects.
direction was given to him to take a look at the DPW project, which he did. He then started spending time on it. He met with John Lynch to go over the problems and everything. He put some time into it.
And how much is he asking for?
$25,000.
But I believe, I would go back and look at his original proposals, because he gave proposals on both buildings.
He gave us a proposal,
Yes.
but I'm saying we did not award a contract to him at the time on the DPW roof. We awarded a contract to him on the library.
He came back with the
So
photographs.
this resolution is only to pay his bill of $2,500. I think we should give Alan direction whether or not we want to have Mr. Polici do any more work for us at this point. I don't see, you know, it's my opinion that I don't think we should pay Mr. Polici to design this roof that he says is gonna cost us, I don't know,
$500,000.
$427,000.
I'm not disagreeing. What I'm saying is that he gave us a proposal to do that assessment and the design. So that's why I said this should have already been covered under that original proposal. So this represents less than 10% of his original proposed budget. That's what I'm saying.
I just have a question for Alan.
Separate agreement.
Do you need a contract in place so you could pay him?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I'm here tonight.
Okay, you can't pay him without a contract.
How do we work with this? Is put a stop work order on this, basically saying no more work will proceed until we have an understanding and a contract that moves forward with this.
But you're saying a previous resolution covered this?
It should have, because I don't know why he would have been authorized to do work if we didn't award him a contract to provide services.
Should we put a hold on it until we look into that?
No, he did the work. I think, I agree that we should pay him. I'm saying that, I don't know why this is being done. I think there should have been money allocated when we awarded the project to him to look at it to begin with, because he wouldn't have started work without having some kind of an agreement in place.
What was your question on 12-437 for?
Just a comment, I just want to make sure that the cost of designing the pad doesn't start to exceed the cost of the generator. I mean, that's really all my comment on that.
The putting 18 feet?
No, it's going to be 15 feet high for the floodwater.
Is that what it is?
That was it.
But did we get a proposal from Mr. Costa? There was a letter on...
Yes, there was an email.
And this is a not to exceed?
Yes, this is a not to exceed.
All right. Is there a motion to move these resolutions by consent?
So moved.
Second.
All right. Again, we're going to go from the beginning of the resolutions. 12-422 up to and including 12-440, leaving out the payment of the bills, which will have the finance chair move.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Can our finance chair read and move resolution 12-438? We voted.
Yeah, sorry. Whereas vouchers for the payment of goods and services rendered to the Borough River Edge have been received, and whereas each bill has been checked by the receiving department, approved by the Chief Financial Officer and Borough Clerk, and reviewed by the 3 members of the Finance Committee, now therefore be it resolved that bills as listed now be confirmed for payment from the appropriate funds as follows. Current account, $416,575.46. Capital account, $2,770.63. Recreation account, $25,939.77. Animal welfare account, $5.40. Trust other account, $6,806.32. Open space account, $2,051.37. Trust other developers account, $5,715. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right. Can I have a motion to open the hearing to the public?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? Okay. Now the... Wait a minute. Let me just make the announcement, please. The hearing is open to the public to speak on any issue now, not just the ordinance, on any issue affecting their interests. You can ask a question, make a comment.
All the three.
Okay.
Carol Martin, to Avenue River Edge. My problem will probably seem very minor to all of you compared to what all these people are going through. But I am here about the damage from the recent storm with the sidewalks and everything else that was done. Fortunately, I had no damage this time with the storm, but with Irene, I had a lot of damage. My husband and I had sent up quite a few letters to the town and pictures showing the damage that was done when the town tree fell across the street. At that time, 3 slabs were lifted up.
How many? 3?
The sidewalk slabs were lifted up, okay, lifted with the trucks and that.
Right.
Okay, so now the day that the town took the tree was cut so that we could traffic could pass. The day that the town took the stump out, my husband and I were home, but my neighbor was watching them. They came in with a backhoe, and boom, up they went with the stump, dropped it. Boom, up they again, 3 times. Now the result is, instead of 3 slabs, I have 5 damaged slabs, and my front lawn was all ripped up Plus now the curb is in a worse shape than what it was when the twins pushed it down. And I said, okay, we come home and we have the yellow caution tape around it. And I have the slabs up like this and everything. Next morning we get a knock on the door and it's DPW telling me, I have bad news for you. You're responsible for fixing the sidewalk and the curb. And my husband and I looked at each other shocked. Okay, call the town says we're responsible. I sent letters in. I didn't ask for 5 slabs. I said, if I'm responsible, fine. I'm stuck paying for 3. But I asked for 2 slabs that the town damaged when they were pulling the stump out. And I also asked for repairs for my lawn because the roots that they were pulling ripped up my front lawn. Now, I had to pay a landscaper to repair my lawn. I paid the landscaper to redo what the town did at the curb because it all washed away because there's no curb there. And I also had to pay to have 5 slabs replaced. Now I understand you're going to be very generous, which is great, don't get me wrong. I think it's great that you're giving all the residents a possible break by going in with New Milford and getting a break. But now I'm going to ask, I would like you to give me a break on the money I laid out a couple of years ago. And then maybe you can fix the curb because I am not fixing the curb. I said I went around town and there's curbs all over this town that are down to the ground and everything else. I didn't argue with anybody. I didn't say no, I won't do it. It was a hazard. I got a contractor in, I fixed it right away so nobody would get hurt. And then this is what I get. I get whatever the other damage was done is done and you're out of luck. I'm sorry, that's not right. So I'm going to have my husband write another letter. I'll make it short now because I do have a hearing problem, so if you all ask me questions, I probably won't be able to understand you at all. I can hear, but I don't understand. And I would like us to be considered, if you do go in with New Milford and get all these other people a break. And I said, because now 5 slabs are being placed, if the town is placing the slabs and laying them out when they're pulling up the roots and that, and then I get stuck with this, and this is not the first time we've got stuck with something. But I think it's very unfair for the residents that paid 2 years ago to be ignored and then have to find out that they might get a break this month. I thank you very much. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you. Any questions? Peggy?
Peggy White, 741 Century Avenue. I totally agree with Mrs. Moss, because I had the problem I said too. My question is, quite a few years ago, was the strip mall that we have down here that had the fire.
Yes.
I noticed that what's happening is the part that had the fire, and I imagine it's still owned by 2 different individuals.
Yes.
It used to all be separated. You knew that there was a separation. And then an ordinance was made that they all had to have the same facade. They all had to have the same signs and what have you. And that happened, and they all had to do that. Now all of a sudden I see they're coming right back to where they were, and was a new ordinance made? Or didn't anybody check? Doesn't anybody know that that was supposed to all, it was, I believe the way it was written, if I'm not mistaken, was that any strip mall would have to have the same facade. So I would like somebody to check it, because I think that there's an ordinance that probably has been violated now, with the new way they're doing it.
All right, thank you, Peggy. We'll have, maybe Sam can look into it, or Vito has a comment to make.
Yes, it appears, I drive through it a lot, it appears that the southern half of the strip mall is having the front facade redone, and that the blue background and white lettering signage appears to be of a temporary nature while they finish to redo. Now, I don't know if the owner of the northern half of that strip mall will follow suit, if that is correct.
But are you aware of any ordinance that requires a strip center to have even...
No, not at all.
Yeah.
My own public
I mean, in your
misinformation.
years on the zoning board, you never had an occasion to review an ordinance.
I know, we only got the fences on the zoning.
We'll look and see. I'm not familiar with any such ordinance that would require that of a strip mall. we'll have Sam look and see if it does exist.
Green, it looks like his shirt. Sandy.
Maybe we should have an ordinance, but I don't think there is an ordinance.
Neil Carroll.
Neil, Mr. Carroll.
Degenerate?
Neil Carroll, 321 Wales Avenue. I was wondering what the status, I've been watching the Howland Avenue traffic light go through its years and years of improvement, and the last time I asked a question, Mr. Costa happened to be here, and he said the county had come up with a couple of more items. I was wondering what your knowledge of the traffic light, where do we stand?
It works.
Sometimes.
Is it legal?
Yes, it's legal.
Because the second reading was already done by the freeholders, and I'm just curious, is the project over because they've done the second reading? Because I've seen no letters or whatever on the agenda.
You mean the
saying-
entire Howland Avenue improvement project? No, we're in the, what's phase 6?
No, the traffic light is a whole separate issue, Mayor.
No, I think the traffic light is, it's approved.
Mayor, I
Yeah.
think the punch list was completed. We completed our ordinance on the traffic ordinances that they requested. I've received all the money that I'm going to receive from the county. So as far as I know, it's been closed. The engineering department did not allow us to draw down the final payments until all of the engineering or construction aspects were completed as far as they were concerned. Now, whether there's a timing issue with the light or anything like that's traffic related in terms of the police department, that I don't know. But in terms of the physical construction and our relationship with the county, I think we're all done.
Okay, only because 6 months ago I asked, we did a unique thing with this traffic light. We did not let the county put the light up.
Right.
We took it over because we were going to save money. So after the first of the year, I'm going to ask once again, what did the traffic light cost and what did we get?
Okay. Anybody else? Any issue? Any comment, any question? All right, can I have a motion to close the hearing to the public?
So
moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, any abstained? All right, any final closing comments by any council member?
Yes.
Kathleen, let's begin with Kathleen.
I just want to send in my condolences to the victims of the Newtown massacre, and I would urge people to contact their legislators. There should be a ban on assault weapons, and only the military and police should have those weapons. Yeah.
Council President Courts.
Being that this is my last meeting, but I can't get one for showing up tonight. Freaking my nice long meeting. But I'll save my final comments for the SUNY Day.
Yeah, go ahead. Councilman Coppola.
It was great working with Councilman Quartz, and wish him well. We'll see him again in January, I hope. We'll have some cannolis and Triadel for you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm
Because it's going to be an Italian swearing in.
This side of the
What?
I think Vito is, right?
The newest guy has to pay, that's the rule.
Anything, Ed?
Yes, first I just want to thank Brian Coyman, Justin Kearns, Walter Rios, Ben Silver, and Mikado for joining the police reserves. It's nice to have people in multiple, I know some of them are actually members of the fire department, and to join the police reserve, it's a great volunteer service for the town, and just let them know that they're appreciated. I too want to send out my condolences to the people of Newtown. We can't imagine the depth of the tragedy there, and I know, speaking briefly with Chief Corretti, I know he's been meeting with the schools, reviewing our own security plans, and all I'd say is that, our hearts and prayers goes out to those people. And then lastly, just wish everybody a Merry Christmas and happy, healthy, and safe New Year.
Thank you. Al?
Thank you, Mayor. Everybody kind of left, except most of our usual regulars. But I do want to thank everybody for coming out tonight. I wish this place was packed constantly. I really do. Instead of when people are just kind of, it personally affects them. Or at least they think, it's only, everything we do up here has an effect on you. Your local government probably has the most effect on you of any level of government whatsoever. This is probably where you're going to pay, most people pay their highest property, taxes, is their property tax. So, people should come out to these meetings and pay attention to what's going on. And, it's our mission up here to encourage that and make getting information as easy as possible. I also want to send out my condolences to the people of Newtown. Most of us, a lot of us up here have children same age. And, over the last couple of days, I'm sure there's just been times where I've just saw a picture or read a eulogy or something and you just start breaking down crying. So my heart and my prayers go out to those families. I can't imagine what they're going through. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year, because by the time we get back, it'll be January 1st. And then just going back, it seems like days ago, the fund balance. If people didn't know what we were talking about with the fund balance, it was really regenerating a surplus in this town to cover emergency situations and to make sure we have adequate funds available that we need to. That's the fund balance and the debt policy are really a first for a municipality in New Jersey to have a codified statement like that. So hopefully come January that'll pass, that resolution, because it would be pretty groundbreaking actually. So I'm proud of that. I'm proud of the work that we did at the Finance Committee with Alan's help. Alan Tillis has been trying to get this since 2006 or thereabouts. So I'm happy we could do that for him and for the town as well. And that's about it.
And last but finally not least, no, you're not the last. You're not the last. Vito will be last. Councilman Papaleo.
And the last should be first. Someone say.
I'd like to offer my congratulations to our Garden Award winners. I think this is a great award. I'd like to give my thanks to Virginia and the Beautification Foundation for offering these awards, for encouraging and recognizing good neighborship and beautification in our town. I would like to add my voice to congratulation to May, Brian, Justin, Walter as our new police reserves. I'd like to give my thanks to John, I'm going to say his name wrong, I'm sure, Pamboloni, and to some guy named Vito Acquafrida for their years of service as they step down from their current positions, and of course wish them well on any future positions they might be taking upon themselves. I'd like to extend all my prayers to the repose of the souls of the 20 young angels and the adults who lost their lives as a public school teacher. This has been a very emotional weekend for everybody, but I can certainly see what it means for children to lose their sense of safety in their schools. It didn't just happen to Newtown, it happened to every public and private school child throughout the United States, because the gentleman who committed this infamy, he wasn't let into the building. Security procedures were in place and they worked, and yet still this tragedy happened. And I know that I've been part of a school community that is right now trying to figure out how can we harden our security procedures even more than we already have. So my prayers go to those children, to those people, to their families, and I also pray for God's strength for the people of Newtown and for all the parents who are trying to figure out how to explain to their children how something like this could happen.
Thank you. Councilman-elect Acquafrida. Anything?
Thank you. Just a couple of things that dawned on me. I mean, a week ago I said goodbye to the Board of Education and the constituents that had me elected there. and I characterized that as the end of a trip. Still the same station, just the train had arrived, and I had to make the next one that was leaving. And after tonight, I believe I made the right choice in running for the position, and certainly welcome the challenge that will be in front of us. I certainly hate to see a good man like Paul leave. I hardly know Paul. I mean, I've used him as my plumber a few years ago. It was his father that came to my house and changed the boiler. And I'm looking forward to meet Anthony. Certainly, I had a chance to meet Ed. Alphonse, I mean, we go back because technically I was his wife's boss. So, and Tom also, we go way back. It was also good to see how people come back to the community. The police reserve gentleman and one lady, at least the gentleman, not the lady, I actually signed their high school diploma. So it's good to see the more things change, the more they remain the same, and you find them in front of you. And I think it's a testament to our community that we are able to educate people, and we are able then to take them back, whether it's as teachers at the elementary school or the high school. There's a lot of former graduates that have become teachers now. And also in cases where, at the town level, where we offer employment opportunities. That's the way I look at it. I mean, it was good to see also the democratic process at work, the representative democratic process, because we can never dream of becoming like a Greek city-state where they waited for all the men to be there in the agora to vote on something, and which caused their downfalls. I mean, the Romans kind of understood where they were and took advantage of them. And certainly the discussion and the vetting that we had about a proposed ordinance really showed us that we have people who want to be aware of what goes on, and perhaps sometimes, as Alphonse may have alluded to, need a little nudging to kind of, hey, come on, guys, this is real stuff that we're doing here. We're not here just to check on the weather and report to you guys. From a planning board point of view, I mean, I was on the planning board when we vetted that ordinance, and we did make improvements because words like Palisades Park, Staten Island, Queens, and I used the own example of my neighborhood where I lived in Queens, which was made up of duplexes, but duplexes built in the 20s. We wanted to make sure that if we went ahead and approved the mayor and council recommendation, that it be done with a certain taste and with an eye to the future. And certainly I look forward to next month meetings to kind of revisit the entire ordinance and see if perhaps even more improvements can be made. But the hour is late. I'm looking forward to see you all on January 1st. So,
all right. Thank you very much.
I'm off the train.
I also want to echo the comments of the council here to thank the police reserve. I am so proud that we live in a community where we have about 55 employees and about 550 volunteers that get the job done every day, from the ambulance that you may need, to the fire that you may put out, to the recreation programs that are so beneficial to our children that are all run by volunteers, on and on and on. The beautification committee, the public events, the live people that volunteer in the library and in the schools. It just makes the quality of life here in River Edge better than anywhere else. So kudos to the young volunteers, the next generation of young volunteers on our police reserve. One of the first things I did when I became mayor last year was join an organization called Mayors Against Gun Violence. It's headed by New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg. I signed on to that organization and I follow it, And as, Mayor Bloomberg wants to do, we have to revisit this issue that is so new in our minds for the devastating loss of innocent lives that we had in Newtown, Connecticut. I want to thank everybody for coming. I want to wish everybody a happy and healthy holiday, Christmas and New Year's. And most of all, I want to thank the council for working with me this year, even though I was the rookie mayor, working with me this year. I'm looking forward to working with everybody next year. I think we had a productive year. I think I tried to get along with everybody, and everybody certainly tried to get along with me. And if we can keep the ball rolling next year, we'll have another great year of keeping River Edge as special as it is. All right, and thank you, everybody. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah.
You're going to come?